Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Crippled System Dresden podcast series.
Hello.
Hi.
Hola.
My name is Nathan.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Brian.
I'm Valiant418 on the forums.
Whose real name is Jeremy.
Is it?
I'm quietly killing Andy in the corner.
Quietly. You don't kill anyone quietly, Jeremy.
Jeremy doesn't do anything quietly.
No.
I do a couple of things
Just
quietly.
ask the ladies.
For those of you tuning in for the first time, or I guess for the second time, it's worth recapping.
Whatever.
We are going over and discussing our love affair of the Harry Dresden, the Dresden File books by Jim Butcher.
Yep.
What?
Is that what we're here for?
Today, specifically, we're talking about 6 through 10.
Yes.
I thought we were going over the career of the actor who played Harry Dresden and discuss all of his other roles he's had in
Archer.
film. Yeah.
I thought we were
Or
talking
Arrow.
about the Dresden
Arrow.
Dolls, the hit band.
Just in case you don't remember what 6 through 10 are, I'm just going to list the titles. We'll
Sure.
get into it more. But 6 is Blood Rites, 7 is Deadbeat, 8 is Proven Guilty, 9 is White Knight, and 10 is Small Favor.
And after, because we tiptoed around them a little bit last time, and we talked to people who listened to the podcast, and they basically all universally said, spoilers ahoy.
Yes.
So we're going to talk under the assumption that you have read these books. These are not veiled, spoiler-free, semi-reviews. These are in-depth discussions that will tell you who lives, who dies, what happens. So if you haven't read them yet, pause, go read them, and then unpause.
I haven't read them.
Well, then you're...
Well, then GTFO.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't care about spoilers, you know, this is
Also
the
that.
place.
Yeah.
Because we also got some feedback that there were some people, they were like, well, I don't know that I'm going to read them, but I wouldn't mind knowing what happens.
Right.
Okay,
There are
great.
people. I have a coworker, which I might have mentioned. I mentioned it at some point in the past. I don't know if it was a previous Dresden podcast for Game of Thrones. He liked season 1, and he didn't want to read the books. So he literally went to Wikipedia and read every spoiler from books 1 through 5.
Oh my
Like
God.
in a day. So then he come back to work, and of course, but a lot
Was
of
he
people.
did he shoot himself at work
No,
the next
he's just
day?
like, I just want to know what happened. So then, of course, but he's like a non-book reader around, but he's a guy who's also terrible at not spoiling things.
Oh, that
God.
sounds
Like
amazing.
he's a guy who, when I watched Sons of Anarchy, who he'd watch it sometimes before me, and he was the reason I had to watch it live, because if I didn't watch it by the next day, it'd be ruined for me. He's like, I'm not going to tell you anything about yesterday, but one of the characters dies, but I'm not going to spoil it. So he's like, he sets up also it's one of these 4, but I'm not going to tell you which one. He has a beard. Not going to tell you which one. He's 38 years old. He has 1 child. But that's all I'm going to tell you.
And his name's John.
So, I mean, it's just like, yeah. And he even when he talks generally, he's like spoilers come out of his mouth in like a natural conversation. So when he read ahead, I was like, oh, there goes it for everybody.
Yeah, that ruins it for everyone.
Everyone's screwed.
That's amazing. I didn't feel after a very short period of time, I didn't really feel sorry for people who were trying to protect themselves from Game of Thrones spoilers.
I think
because the information was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not that I want to get off track, but I think the only spoiler people kept off was the Red Wedding, because everyone
Yes.
wanted them to suffer with them.
Yeah.
Everything
No
else
one
was
would.
fine, but no one would mention the Red Wedding because fuck those people.
I did like after the Red Wedding episode aired that I almost said Jim Butcher, that whoever the guy who wrote the Game of Thrones books is,
Martin.
my brain's not working. Martin, thank you.
Whoever
He
that guy is.
tweeted and he's like, now you know why your nerdy friends were really sad 10 years ago.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
not to
Anyway,
go on that
back
rabbit
to
hole.
Dresden.
When last we left him,
He had just defeated, survived.
He survived.
Survived is a better word.
The hero of the series, Nicodemus.
yeah.
Hero of the series, sure, Brian.
That's my stance.
Nicodemus is such a nice guy that he gave him a gift as well.
He did. Well, he
tried to
offered
give a gift to
Harry, a different
right.
Harry.
He tried to give a gift to a kid, like a
Right?
nice, like a Santa Claus figure, basically. He
Basically.
said, "Here, good child, you may have this precious coin."
Yeah.
And Harry Dresden, like a jerk,
Stole it.
stole it.
Stole the coin.
He even admits he palms the coin.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just
and
criminal
then he
behavior.
buried
right
it
there.
under 6 feet of concrete.
Yep.
In a rune circle.
Yeah. Correct.
So
Like
anyway.
taking candy from a baby.
Delicious mind candy.
So book 6 is fun. I like how it starts off, because it starts off with Harry running through a building that's being
around
burning
him.
down, carrying a box of puppies, being chased by basically flying monkeys throwing poo at him.
Fun.
Yes.
Burning poop.
Burning, yeah,
That's
burning-
why the
burning
building
monkey
is
poop.
burning down because
It's
of the
not
monkey poop.
Harry's fault this time. So the entire opening segment is the thing about this book, and I think a few books the way. There's not that many actual locations. For some reason, when I thought of this, when I was reading this book, I was thinking of it. Man, if this was a movie, there'd only be like 4 locations total.
Right.
which is pretty. Besides like the standard apartment, he doesn't really go out. He goes to the same places constantly. There's
Well,
not
they
like
even
a lot.
describe him as a creature of habit that just
Yeah.
does the same things again and again and again.
Yeah, there are a couple out of the way locations.
Yeah, but for
there's
the most part, there's like 4 core locations, which we'll get in a
And
second.
there'll be 1 or 2 out of the way locations that are by necessity out of the way because they're core to the mystery. You know, like
Yeah.
if he's solving this mystery, he has to go to those bad guys' lair.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for that fact, he would just go to his house, to the bar, to Murphy's place, and that's it.
Yeah,
Like,
that would be a day in Dresden normally.
Yeah.
I mean he's going to McNally's pubs.
Yeah, Burger
he's
King.
going to Burger King because he likes Burger King.
Because Burger King's delicious.
That's because no one's perfect. That's okay.
Yeah.
Burger King's
I mean,
amazing.
I
by the
prefer
way.
Burger King over McDonald's.
Well, I mean, over
That's
McDonald's.
I prefer shit over poop.
You go to Burger King, you get a Junior Whopper meal with onion rings, and you're living good.
I dislike McDonald's. Anyway, I'm not going that way. Not going down the tangent. So the book starts off. It's pretty exciting, and he's obviously throwing. There's obviously some Wizard of Oz like moments and comments.
Obviously,
he's being
because-
chased by monkeys throwing flaming poo
Yeah.
at him.
Yeah.
So it's pretty great. And then of course you find out after he's chasing them, and then of course they keep like merging in like a bigger. They form a bigger.
the Voltron monkey.
Yeah, Voltron
Yeah,
monkey.
Voltron monkeys, which is
Which
great.
is amazing. And he
they're-
jumps in the car with
Thomas. Who? What's interesting about books 6 through 10 is they basically are every book brings back characters you meet in books 1 through 5. So now we're getting we're getting to meet these characters for like the second time.
A little
So
deeper.
The stories are going to evolve more. We learn more about the world because really the first 5 books are like. Here's a book about vampires. Here's a book about the fairies. Here's a book about ghosts. So now we got
about
these
werewolves.
Yeah. So now we have all this establishment. So now we can every further book just is compounding. And
For those of you that don't remember, by the way, Thomas is the vampire that went to the masquerade ball with Harry in 3.
He's the White Court
The
vampire,
White Court
which
vampire.
is basically just an incubus or a
A
succubus.
sex vampire, yeah.
Yep.
And he and Harry
What a job.
work together because the Red Court vampires have captured both Harry's girlfriend and this guy's Thomas's girlfriend.
Yep.
Well, and the White Court vampires are kind of the least evil. I mean, ish. Well, because the thing is, of the 3 vampire
they're the most
types,
subtle evil.
They're the most subtle.
Well, okay, I shouldn't say least evil. They're the one of the 3 that inherently doesn't necessarily kill its victims. Like, an incubus or succubus can
The
just
Red
seduce you.
Court-
The Red Court could hypothetically have, but they're still, like, chaining you in a basement and sucking your blood, and it's still a thing, like...
No, it's narcotic. They don't have to chain you up.
If you have to die to a vampire, you're always picking white. Well, that's true. 'Cause there's other. You find out in other books, there's other flavors
There's other
of white
flavors.
courts. But you always, if you're going to choose death by vampire, it's going to be
You
by
want
the
the
Wraith
Wraith
family.
family.
Like, oh, I have to die by sex.
White Court, Wraith, final answer.
Like somebody seducing you, sleeping with you, yeah, stealing some of your life energy, so you're a little
Sure.
fatigued the next day, but you could pawn that off as a one-night stand hangover. Like, they don't have to be hostile or aggressive. There's no mutilation inherently, depending on, the flavor of sex vampire you're into. Like, it seems almost like a much more benign form of
But
predatory.
Harry even comments that's...
I'm not saying they're not evil. I'm not saying they don't prey on humans. I'm just saying of the 3, they're the one that you could be one of them and still be a decent person. Most easily. A Black Court vampire is not ever going to be a
Yes.
decent person. Like,
No.
you're just this monster. And a Red Court vampire is this blood-filled sack of bat hatred in a human skin that sucks blood. I mean, that's a whole bunch of nasty.
Well,
Like, you could claim that, I have to feed blood and I'll stay in human form and I'll just do a pint a day and semi-starve myself. Like, that old cliche of the nice vampire.
Well, the White Court,
but
yeah.
it's a lot easier to be a decent White Court vampire, is all
Well,
I'm
that's
saying.
not decent. Still, you're stretching it a little much.
especially because Thomas is presented as a decent White Court vampire. But in this book, we meet more White Court vampires, and we find out that that's actually a massive exception.
He's the
It
Dritz
is.
Duorden of the White Court vampires, but also the Dritz.
Drizzt.
Oh, yeah.
But the one thing about him is even because you learn more about how the White Court vampires, how it's basically like a monster, them kind of always wanting to eat more. So like when they do, have sex and steal life force, that monster always wants more.
Yeah.
So they're
Anytime
always
they-
having to fight with themselves about how much they take.
Anytime they don't eat your whole soul, it's because they fought back against their
true.
own nature.
I'm just saying it's easier for a Thomas to have the girlfriend that he
Yes.
feeds off of, and she knows it.
But
and
Bianca had a girlfriend.
I know, but it's easier. I guess it's just, to me, blood sucking is more monstrous than
Right.
sex
well, obviously,
absorption.
no one's going to argue that point.
So maybe that's just part of their
You're
what
horny,
they do.
Nathan,
That's
you're
how
horny.
they pray.
We understand.
I just want Thomas so bad.
You can probably anyway.
My wife was like, "Yeah, Thomas is my favorite character," and Keith was like, "Yeah, surprise."
James, when
Yeah.
Jim Butcher was at Gen Con last year, James dressed up as Thomas. And Butcher said that was the first person to ever cosplay as Thomas before. He actually stopped took a picture with
weird to me.
Yeah, he took a picture with James.
Well, to be fair, most people can't. Like James really can't either. I saw the picture.
Fuck it.
But
Mesh
most
shirt,
people,
deal with it.
yeah, most people really can't. Most convention goers,
There aren't a lot of skinny
really
Gen Con
can't
goers.
pull off Thomas.
I mean, to be fair, either to James.
James did not either, but he didn't care, and that was the important thing.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I mean, they had a whole like ensemble. They had
Yeah.
like a group of them that went in ensemble.
So in this
But
book,
anyway.
one of the interesting things we get to learn a lot more about the White Court.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
right.
is like a huge White Court world.
Because again, like Brian was saying, in 1 through 5, he touches on all these things, and then coming back through again, he's like, "Great, now you have the basics,
Yeah.
so I can just you understand. Now I
And
can
there's a
delve
current
deeper."
war with the Red Court going. Technically, it's a war versus all vampires, but it's
Technically.
primarily red and black. Mostly red because black
Mostly
are
red.
pretty rare. And
It's a
whites
war
are-
against the Reds, and the black and white are their allies.
Allies.
Yes.
Would
That's a
kind
better
of be
way
the way
to
to
describe
put
it.
it.
Yeah.
So
It's like in Civilization when you declare war on someone and their city-states are like, we're involved.
We're helping.
yeah.
but are they really?
So he obviously overcomes the monkey demon, and then it turns out Thomas is there because
Thomas is driving the getaway car.
Yeah, because Thomas asked for a favor
for a ride.
And
For a ride.
Yeah, he asked well, yeah. So basically, he wanted to ask Dresden.
Well, he wanted to ask
something,
Dresden, but
but Dresden made him come along on all this.
He prompted it by asking for a ride
Yeah.
because he was going to just like ask Dresden for a
All
favor.
casual like.
All casual like.
He's like, sure, I just need a wheelman.
So Dresden gets away with a box of they're foo dogs or some kind of
Ancient foo temple dogs.
They're temple dogs. He has to meet at the airport and give to the guy
The
to take
priest.
with him.
Yeah.
And the Tibetan monk is like, less more than none.
Yes.
And he takes
But
it
he
back,
doesn't
and
really
Dresden's
speak
like,
English all that well, so Harry's like, yeah, whatever, thanks.
This is the
like weird.
first book I listened to via audiobook, by the way, which was fascinating of the series.
I
Like,
can't do it. I tried. I hate it.
I actually was surprised that I liked it, but
I listened to the first
it
two
is
that way.
weird. It is
Audiobooks can be really hit or miss. The Dresden ones, I think, are well done.
The guy, he does a good voice. I mean,
Marsters
it's
is
really
good
good
in general.
People are-
My hang up there is I have to, if I'm going to do audiobooks, I have to start that way, and then I can't stop doing it that way.
Because you have your own voices in your
Otherwise, I
head.
have the own voices in my head, and hearing someone else do different voices is like nails on a chalkboard.
I always
yeah.
have voices in my head, so, the audiobooks aren't
And-
unique about that.
and he does certain characters very specifically, like,
Oh, yeah.
and he's known for like how he does, and he keeps it going. So yeah, I can see that if you don't like those voices, they're different than your head. You're like, I don't understand what's happening. It's just too weird.
The worst is when you pick up an audiobook and they pronounce something differently,
And you're like,
it's
what the
worst.
fuck?
Yeah, it's like...
How dare you be correct and how dare you say those words right?
It's not Baratheon. You're wrong. But too bad. That's how the guy's saying it.
Well, I think with the Butcher thing, like how he says it, like, is how Butcher wants it to be said. So
Yeah.
if I mean, usually he's the one who's right, I'm the one who's wrong.
Yeah, but
Right.
you're used to your wrong.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, because I don't care that it's Dol Guldur. It's
Yeah.
Dol Guldur. Whatever. I'm wrong, but I've said it wrong for 30 years. You
Yeah.
know, and so it's still weird to hear the
Yeah,
right
the right way.
pronunciation of things.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the book.
So then Thomas is like, now you definitely owe me a favor.
yeah.
So his favor is that he should go meet a friend of his.
If he has a friend who's in trouble.
A friend who's in trouble,
friend
yes.
who's in trouble. On the way to meet this friend who's in trouble, they come up to the entrance to like a gated community.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at this point, Harry starts to hear like a squeaking, growling noise from under his like lawn chair that has replaced his the
that is
regular
what's left
seat
of his
in
car.
his car because mold demons.
'Cause mold
apparently,
demons,
is a
obviously.
thing that happens in his life.
It's a thing that happens. I love the
Only in
Blue
his
Beetle.
life.
And so he goes to grab the one renegade puppy out from under the seat, at which point they're attacked by Black Court vampires. So now we've been introduced to the fact that not only we have some White Court involvement, but also the Black Court
Court.
is back in town. And is it already at this point that Marva is suspected?
So the vampire like grabs him by the shirt or something, and like Mavra like talks through it, like a voice box, as I recall.
She does it. So she does use those vampires because she has a lot of magical powers.
Yeah.
And she does. I don't know if it's the initial attack because
He know. So they fight off the vampire, and the vampire runs, not dead well.
Oh, he recognized it was a fresh black cord
It was a fresh
vampire
black
that
cord
was
vampire.
from the
Yeah.
party, so he figured.
So he figured
Mavra
out
was-
that it was probably Mavra.
And between like Thomas and a holy water balloon, I think.
Yeah,
yeah,
he
they
had a
just
holy
fucked the
wa-
thing up.
yeah.
Turns out he keeps those in his car.
Because he's at war with
Because
red cords,
Dresden.
so.
Because it's his life.
And
Because
basically,
Dresden.
the funny, if that dog wouldn't have barked when it did, or did
He was
a
just fucked.
He would have attacked him. And because I mean,
Thank goodness for temple dogs.
yeah,
Yep.
Well, because the vampire is basically halfway in the car. Thomas is like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because
Yeah.
he's like, "Whoa, shit's going down." Because white cords aren't the thing about them. They're all sex. They're not really fighters. I mean, they can fight, but they're
For
nowhere.
a brief period of time, as it turns out, they can be stronger than either of the other two courts. But it's kind of like dwarves are natural sprinters.
Well, it's
Like they're very good over short distances.
because they feed on like soul energy.
Yeah.
It's a more powerful reserve.
They just don't have as much of it.
Right. But and it burns faster. It's like a fuel. The hotter it burns, the faster it burns out. And so the red cord, it's more of a biological thing. Like I eat a sandwich, I get energy I can use to do stuff, but it's not like a direct. I can't become the Hulk because I ate a Whopper.
Right.
But the white cord, the way they feed, since it's more of a mystical energy, they can access it and use it.
When they turn it on, they turn
roid
it the
out.
fuck on.
Yeah.
So so between the two of them, they're able.
Also, a quick jump ahead. This book has my favorite last line in any of the Dresden books. Just saying.
We'll look forward to that.
Keith's with me on this.
So they don't chase the Black Court vampire because Dresden's like, no, this feels like a trap because in his life everything's a trap, and he's
it
probably
is.
right. And then they go into to his friend to meet Thomas's friend.
Yep.
Thomas's friend Arturo. I forget
Arturo.
Arturo's first name. Arturo last name or first name?
Arturo Di Turo.
What? That cannot be right.
It's Arturo. His name is
Arturo,
Arturo.
yeah,
like
he's referred to as
Genoso
Arturo.
or something like
R2D2.
that.
And he's
I know what you
he's
were-
a
okay.
movie producer
Yep, he is.
who he has started his own studio.
Yep, recently.
And a couple people on his film crew have died mysteriously,
He's helping.
Seriously,
cool
our
off the-
producer
he's
is doing
helping
weird
cool off the-
things.
he's
Yeah.
helping cool off the room.
We'll ignore the producer.
Yeah. So he wants to hire Harry to come to the set and keep an eye on things. Right? I assume that's where you're going.
Yeah, because people, it's like ridiculous situations. Like I got a boat fell on someone who was like on the highway. Or,
Yeah, both fell on someone on the highway, and then
a car hit someone while they were skiing.
That's
Yes,
what,
water skiing.
I knew it was,
Sit
yeah,
around
I knew it was that scenario.
and
I just
then
forgot
an entire a car.
Because it was like there was a car accident.
Someone went inside.
What's so weird about that?
Yeah.
They were skiing.
And then somebody went in from a car to open the door, and when they came back out and opened the door again, they were attacked by a car full of killer bees.
Yeah.
Yep.
In like the 3 minutes it took them to walk up to the door and back.
Car or trunk full of bees. Yeah.
I guess it was a trunk, technically, yeah. So, like, very weird ways to die.
So here, Harry figures it's like some kind of curse is going on.
Right.
That, he's
Because
wanting to
Harry's pretty
investigate.
smart.
Yeah.
Sounds like an entropy curse.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Harry agrees to go help out.
And he gets a good feeling from it. He feels Arturo's a
Yeah,
cool guy. He
Arturo
feels,
seems like a decent guy, despite the fact that he's friends with Thomas.
yeah.
Yeah.
And him and Thomas get into a little bit of a tiff because Thomas's girlfriend's there. Thomas has a little snack. Harry's not real a fan of people snacking on things snacking on people.
Because he doesn't care that he's stealing love force. He's still, he's eating people.
Yeah, you're eating a person in front of me. This is rude. I'm going to beat your ass.
Yeah.
Right.
So so we get a little bit
We have
of
a fundamental difference of opinion on
Right.
proper behavior.
correct. We get reminded that Thomas, while perhaps Harry's friend, not normal human person.
Right.
So I guess that's the major point there. And then he goes home to talk to Bob about the entropy curse.
Yep.
And to figure out a little bit about that. Only Bob's much more interested in who Harry's working for than the curse.
Because Arturo is a masterpiece.
A master.
of
A
his
master
art.
of his filmic arts.
Yes. So,
Certain kind of filmic arts.
yeah. So, but
He's
Dresden
big in
gets
his
a little,
field,
Dresden
you
gets a
might
little
say.
concerned by this, and then he finally realizes what's going on, and he finally realizes that Arturo is a porn
A
maker.
very well-known
Yeah.
porn producer.
Yeah.
Director,
You know.
producer, probably both.
Both
Because obviously
probably.
Dresden's like, well, all porn's awful, and he's like, well, no, Arturo's
And Bob's
all
like,
about the
all
artistic-
porn's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and he's all like, well, Arturo does this and this because Arturo's more about the art and stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, and he uses
trying to-
people over the age of like 18 and like.
Yeah, because there's the pornos that just have like a description of the act.
All right,
and then
wait.
a num-
We have found
I'm being
Nathan's
G-ish
wheelhouse.
rated.
We
I'm
found,
being
we
G-ish-
found Nathan's wheelhouse. He knows all about this.
This is, I've heard. When you think of porn movie titles, there's ones where it's just like a description of what's happening to them, and then the word either guys or babes, and then a number that's probably way too high of a number to have that many films with that act to that person. Those are not the ones Arturo does.
to be fair, some of them start at 69.
Yeah. He does like, a secret rendezvous
Rendezvous?
Yes, because people are probably looking because that's what this particular one's about. But, and it's the one where, like, a woman's tempted by the priest, and you could almost think that it's a Lifetime mystery movie, except that people are doing it on camera.
There's lots of porn.
Right. So those are really the two styles.
So plot porn?
Plot porn.
Okay.
There's the third style where you take an actual film and then you just replace one of the words in it with a porn word, like Star Wars or Edward Penis Hands or whatever. But that's a different matter altogether.
Again,
he
Nathan's
doesn't
wheelhouse.
do the act word number 37. He does the artsy stuff. He does the stuff they give out awards for.
Yeah.
He does have some awards, according to Bob.
So he goes to the next day he goes to the place for the porn.
Yep.
The porn place. We're called the porn shop. The studio.
The studio, which
He
is
doesn't
in a
do-
warehouse.
He doesn't do porn. He does erotica.
Erotica.
That's the difference.
And he
Yeah.
meets a bunch, and he's going as he's not taking his staff or his coke because he's trying to be a little undercover. And he,
Right.
He
Also,
doesn't
there's
want to
a
walk.
ton of high-tech equipment.
Yeah, so he's kind of going low key, just shirt and jeans kind of a thing, and he's pretending to be like a assistant to the producer's assistant's nephew thing. Basically this low key assistant guy.
He does have a blasting rod, though? Or not?
He's got a couple.
He brings
of
the
things.
puppy in a backpack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's keeping the puppy because
Well, of course he brings the
he's
puppy.
trying to get
Cute
rid of the
little
puppy.
puppy.
He is trying to get rid of the puppy.
Because he doesn't want a puppy because he has
His life doesn't have room for a puppy.
He has Mister, and he's trying to get a hold of the guy who was there, but the number was already disconnected.
Because-
in his role, everyone uses calling services. You ever noticed that?
I have
Yeah.
noticed that.
Everyone's always using it. It's like maybe it's a thing.
I've never known a person that uses a calling service.
Yeah, but everyone in the Dresden world.
But you don't
uses
know
those.
anyone in the magical community.
That's
right.
true. So I mean,
Because I guess they can't use like cell phones, so they have to use
Yeah.
regular phones, and regular phones,
Yeah.
even an answering machine would melt eventually.
Very quickly, probably.
And so he's just carrying this thing around because he doesn't know what to do with it.
Right.
So it's just for following.
So he has like random people. Like he has Murphy babysit it one day, and he like has somebody on the crew babysit it one day.
Yeah.
So anyway, he finds out a little bit more about the.
Yeah, you meet basically the
you meet
cast.
a cast of the crew. There are a bunch of them that are like norms.
Yeah.
As
a few
Dresden-
like
as Dresden would refer to them.
surprisingly nice people
Yeah.
considering their profession.
Yeah,
Right.
You find out you meet a couple. You find out either there. You find out that the producer, the main producer, is Arturo's ex-wife.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Stop.
funding
The
is from
funding is-
one, and it turns out one of his several ex-wives.
Yeah, he has like
he has three
three-
ex-wives.
Three primary.
It's
episodes.
surprisingly common for ex/current spouses to work in porn together.
Yeah.
Which is, man, it's got to take a special kind of person to just like direct a film. Like, could you do this to my wife a little more energetically? And then after the shoot's over, they just go have coffee together. Like that's
and
a
there's like
relationship.
4 or 5. There's a couple. Obviously, the whole cast is mostly younger guys and some younger girls working there.
right.
And that's where he finds out that Arturo broke off from the main. He was he was working for an industry company. He's trying to do it on his own because
Silver Light.
Silver
Silver
Light.
Light,
There
yes.
we go.
You also find out that the main star of the film is another of his ex-wives.
A lot
Who's
of
a terrible
ex-wives.
person.
Who's a terrible person, Trixie.
Trixie is hilarious.
She is hilarious.
She is a masterpiece of stupidity. And
She is everything you've ever thought about dumb blondes is true about Trixie.
Terrible person and terrible character are not the same thing.
I know.
No, she's an amazing character.
Yeah.
Amazing character.
And then you also find out that against Trixie's not excited about it, but there is a second former porn star that's been brought in, and they tell us
Only
right
after
away
an accident.
Yeah, it's an accident.
And we should
because,
probably
because of one of the accidents.
I will say too, one thing about Trixie, when you read her, you think a very shallow woman. I think it only in people like in today's world, if you read that, people get mad. Oh, he's just being misogynistic and whatnot. But I think he writes enough women well enough that you're able to throw in like a dumb blonde, and it's not like a,
The thing about
offensive.
stereotypes is that even if it's not true of a stereotype, like 1 out of 10 blondes or whatever number will be an airheaded moron.
Let's be honest. That's kind of the number's ridiculous. 1 out of 2.
1 out of 2.
one out of one.
But the point is, 1 out of some number of them will be ridiculous, will be stupid.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, out of
And so
everyone's stupid.
you
There's
can't-
always a percentage of
You can't overreact and make sure that every blonde you write is a Mensa
Well, and
scholar to
Trixie's
make sure.
Trixie's brunette.
Well,
Well,
sure.
fine.
Okay. Well, you get my point. Like, you can have a bimbo.
Yes.
Because you can't avoid the stereotypes with every single character because you know, kid gloves or whatever.
Yeah, it's a little bit like when people give certain like the guy that does Firefly and all those, who's Joss Whedon. Like people ask him, "Why do you write strong women?" He's like, "I just write women."
Yeah.
and like
And
some of them are strong and some of them aren't.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem.
But yeah,
like
so-
that's the way Dresden's women are. Like, some
Trixie's
of them are
allowed
strong
to be
and some aren't.
dumb, and if it bugs you, you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's nice.
I think we could probably
speed up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
Eliminate
meet
some
the
detail.
cast and crew.
Yeah.
Jeremy loves detail.
I do love these.
So
I
we'll
will
zoom up.
I'll tone it down.
We can't
a
do
little
an hour per book.
bit. We could.
Wait,
No.
we
We
could.
could, but we can't.
So yeah.
If we're going to, I need more rum.
So he spends the day.
The
So
point
short
is that
story
we
short,
have to make effort not to because we could.
Because we could.
he spends about a day on the set learning the thing, trying to, and he's trying to blend in. And he's like trying to work, and his summary of the porn is, you know what, porn's kind of, it's actually boring to watch because it's technical. But then a curse actually tries to strike, and he's actually there to stop it on this day because he's like, he senses the magic coming in, and he does his little magic and stops it, so he's all happy.
He doesn't save. He technically, no one dies from that one, which is what he's all excited about. But one person gets badly maimed.
Correct. There's like a power thing with some water and some shit happens.
So accident occurs. They bring in a new talent, or not new talent, but somebody that they've known from
New
before.
to this shoot.
Yes.
Yeah.
An old associate from Silverlight, who Harry very quickly identifies as a member of the White Court.
His pants identifier is a member of
Yes.
the White Court.
Yes.
He's like, wait, something is terribly wrong with my everything.
What an alert system! I have an erection. There's a white court vampire nearby.
The backup brain was onto this puzzle.
Yeah. So they introduce her, and she's clearly a White Court vampire. And the other thing that's going on during all this time while he's meeting all the Sekiro stuff is he's setting up to go after Mavra. He knows she's in town, and he talks to Murphy about it. He talks to
Kincaid.
He calls
Kincaid.
Kincaid,
He calls in Kincaid.
And he hires
I
Kincaid.
love Kincaid.
Kincaid's amazing.
So you have two
Best.
plots. You have him doing the thing, and then he's like, you know what? We're gonna, for the first time, we're taking the offense. We're not gonna wait for the Black Court to attack.
Yeah,
we're
none
gonna,
of this
we're gonna
fucking
get
around
together.
waiting.
We're gonna
We
attack
don't
him.
want them to set up Scourge in town.
Yeah, that's bad times.
Yeah, so we're gonna.
So that's
fuck them
also
up.
kind of going on at the same time all this is going on.
When Murphy and Kincaid meet, the dialogue between those characters is just so great.
Yeah.
the shit. It's just marvelous.
Oh my god!
Is this the
Kincaid-
time that they just meet at the IHOP
They're-
and Kincaid's
they're-
like,
yes.
yeah, if that guy gave me $50, I'd kill you, but he didn't. So how you doing?
And of course, he calls like a
And he's like, "Oh, hey, tiny woman, like, go get me."
The
some
men are
pancakes."
talking. Go get me some pancakes.
yeah, why are you here? And of course, Murphy being Murphy deals with them pretty well.
Yeah, but it turns out he's not a terrible, sexist, awful person. Although maybe he is.
Oh, he
But-
probably is, but
He's just mean to everybody. Like
But in this case, he was just
testing
testing.
her.
He was just rattling the cages to see
as
how
it
it
were.
went.
They throw down and they get each other's they measure each other's merits.
Before the big showdown with Mavra, though, there's a big scene where there's an afternight party where there's Laura and
Laura's the White Court.
Laura's
the
the White Court vampire. It turns out one of the girls on the set, who's like one of the assistants, is her younger sister.
So and they're both Thomas's sisters.
And you find out
is the other thing you find out.
because he's at the party checking out. He sees some guy run out the back door. He chases him down. It turns out to be Thomas. He's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you, Thomas?"
Those are my
Laura
sisters.
comes out to attack him. He's like, "Well, I know who this is. Dresden.
Yeah.
He's our enemy. I'm going to fight him."
And then the curse goes off.
Yeah. The
Well,
curse-
they get attacked by Black
Well,
Court.
no.
vampires.
First, she shoots Thomas
she shoots Thomas to get the scene going.
because Thomas is defending Harry.
Yep. So then the curse starts going off. So you have the curse about to strike. Dresden is having to fight Laura, and then as that's going on, the Black Court come in and they start attacking them. So there's
And the baby sister's there.
and
that's who the curse is actually going after.
This is one of those quintessential moments. You can never not read the next chapter in a Dresden book because
Right.
every one of them ends with somebody shot, a curse is going off, and vampires are attacking. They're like, well, it's 2 in the morning and I work one more chapter, I guess.
The key thing is Harry and the White Court team up.
Yep. Temporary truce.
He redirects the curse on the Black Court, and
frozen turkey.
frozen turkey comes out of the sky and crushes one of the Black Court, which is great because everyone just stops fighting. They all turn to look at the guy who got killed by a frozen turky. The beaver pops out, and then they go back to fighting. But he's like,
it's
"There's
amazing.
no way you don't stop fighting for that. Everyone, you have to pause to appreciate it." And then they went back to their nonsense.
Yes.
So after this, after the Black Court attack, a temporary truce is called between Harry and Laura.
They go to they take them. They need to take Thomas and the girl.
Thomas and Inara, the baby sister, are both really fucked up.
Let's not say baby sister. She's old enough to be at a porn side.
Well,
no,
she's-
she's like a teenager. She's like an assistant.
She's like 18, 19.
she's like a gopher.
She's not like... When you
she's
say
not a
baby,
baby.
that's
Yeah.
like pre-pubescent.
She's 17. She's between 17 and 19 in that range. So, I don't know
she's
exactly.
right in Nathan's wheelhouse.
Yeah. She's a little old for that, but she's close enough. He'd make an exception.
Anyway,
So they go to House Wraith because
Yep.
They need to fix up Thomas. She's like, well, we have our own doctors on screen. And it's, of course, this mansion out in like the boonies.
Yep.
I mean, it's in the rich part
Sounds
of
like an
town,
amazing house,
but
by
it's
the
surrounded
way.
by a forest. And Dred's is like, wow, that's interesting. You know, if someone made a sound out here, no one would hear it.
Interesting that the vampires have a castle where nobody would hear anybody
Yeah.
dying.
And of course, they get there, and then their car pulls up, and then it's the family matriarch, Lord Wraith himself, gets out of the car. Patriarch. Basically, the
In
rule.
fact, currently the ruler of the court.
The ruler of the White Court, who's like, "Oh, hi everyone. Oh, hey, Harry Dresden." He's like, "Oh, that guy knows my name. That's no good. That's not good." So he's there because he's still concerned about Thomas at this point. No, he doesn't consider Thomas a really good friend, but he's still been helping him. He feels responsible, and he
Feels
stood
like he
up
owes
for
him.
him. Well, when Thomas stood up for him, so he's not going to just let Thomas.
Yeah, because they're not really friends yet. It's just been a series of back scratches.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and in the course of I scratch, you scratch, I scratch, you scratch, eventually, you know,
And
you
Harry
get
wants
closer
to
and it
know
becomes
why
just we help
Thomas,
each other.
Yeah, and,
but-
and Harry
But
wants to know
something
why.
does happen in the house that I would say irreparably damages that relationship
Okay.
at the house, because Harry's big thing with Thomas is Thomas hasn't killed anyone,
Right.
So he's a reformed vampire in Harry's mind. Thomas is so fucked up that he can't feed without killing someone.
Yep.
That's a known fact. And they take Thomas into his bedroom, and then they send his girlfriend in.
Yeah, and Harry
Thomas's
tries to
girlfriend.
stop her, but
And Harry
she's like,
tries-
"No, it's my choice."
Yeah.
but he's still furious.
So he's beyond pissed.
Yep.
So, but he has to stay there the night anyway because he's also fairly fucked up. He got his bell rung, and like he's just really out of it. So he spends the night.
He's always kind of like Bruce Willis in a Die Hard movie. By the end of it, he's just fucked up.
He's just kind of
He lost his shoes. He's walked through glass. He's been punched in the face a lot.
Yeah, he does
I mean,
get
he's
pretty
just
wrecked.
fucked up.
So he spends the night in the house because temporary truce for 24 hours. And then the other thing that we've learned about White Court vampires is the first time they feed, that's what makes them a White Court vampire, and they always kill the person.
Yes.
Well, he learns that after a small detail happens. 'Cause he's in his room, and the
No,
youngest...
he'd heard that, but
Well,
he doesn't care.
Well, she comes in, and his younger sister comes in because she doesn't. The thing about that family is he doesn't tell.
They don't tell them. Yeah.
She doesn't know she's a vampire. He just sends her to the room. She's like, "I feel funny. Let's have sex." And he's like, "No, wait, we should have sex," because she's obviously using her White Court voodoo on him.
And then Harry's like, yes, that'd be amazing.
But Thomas comes and is like, "Don't do that." And he's like, "Okay." That's exactly how. That's exactly how he
Exactly how
worded it. He is a wordsmith beyond all days. Don't do
So
it.
Harry manages to not get killed by Inara,
Yeah,
but it's close.
and he's still super.
And he's still super pissed with Thomas.
Which also means that Inara manages to not be a vampire.
not vampire yet.
Yet.
She's a vampire in waiting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but then Thomas is like, I'll escort you out of the house because clearly you're going to get killed on your own here.
Well, because Dresden had plan A, get in here, try to get, but plan B, blow a hole in the wall and just
Blow
run.
up
And he
building.
was about to blow a hole in the wall, and Thomas is like, "I'll escort you out. You don't need to blow a hole in the
Plan
wall."
A and a half. I take you out.
So Harry's still super pissed at him. They're like barely talking, and Thomas takes him out a weird way through the house and shows him a picture of all of Lord Wraith's wives through history, as far as we can tell.
All of the mothers of his children.
Yes, not wives. Wives is a bad term.
Yeah. Mothers of his children.
Mothers of his children. And points out that one of those pictures looks a lot like Harry-ish, in
Yeah.
that it's his mom.
Yeah.
So he finds out that one of the Wraith kids is his mom's kid also, and Thomas says, "That's me, and that's why I've been like looking out for you, and that's why you think I'm such a decent guy, is because I've been trying. I knew about this connection. I've been trying to help you out."
Half
Well,
brothers.
and the cool thing is, he gave him a necklace. They both have a necklace.
both have the
pendant.
amulet.
The amulet from the mother.
And then the other really weird thing is, so they're like, Harry's like, "I don't believe you. You're a killer, and I don't believe you." So they do, what do they call it?
Soul gaze.
Soul gaze. And his mom, Harry's mom, and Thomas's mom left each of them messages inside of each other's soul gazes, which is actually kind of badass.
It was
I mean,
because it's
she's
Tom.
a badass.
Yeah,
She's
well,
a
his mom's
badass.
a badass. You always find more throughout the season of mom, so he
Yeah.
gets to actually see his mom, and it's actually a touching moment because
It
he's
is
like,
a really
"Hey,
touching
it's my
moment.
mom. How's it going?" And he's like, "It's going good."
Yeah.
And then that's my.
You capture the wordsmithing
Yeah.
so well.
I know.
Good. Stuff's nice.
I has one.
My audiobook version is a bit shorter. That is one thing about audiobooks. Audiobooks take twice as long as it would be for me to read it. But
Yeah.
my version of audiobooks takes you 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Shit's
I would
done.
legit listen to that audiobook.
And within the Soul Gaze, as always, we are never given information about Harry.
Correct.
Because nobody ever says what they see.
People
Right.
pass
It's all
out or
Harry.
throw up.
In the first book, we hear the only thing anyone ever sees about Harry, which is that the crazy guy on the drug says that he sees the shadow of he who walks behind.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we ever find out about a Harry soul gaze.
But Harry in Thomas sees ultimately a good person struggling against the monster
monstrous
inside
nature,
of him.
yeah.
Yes.
So
which
So-
which repairs their relationship.
And then he moves on his way. Obviously, and Harry's
point.
an orphan, and now he realizes he has family, and it's insane to his brain. He's like, I'll deal with this later because there's problems. So he's off to fight the. Now he has to go deal with the Black Court because he's on a schedule.
Yep, there's other things to do. Between him and Murphy, they find out that Arturo's previous employer, Silverlight Studios, are owned by the Wraiths.
Yep.
So that this is now much more involved. Thomas's got
Conspiracy versus
Yeah.
just
So
a mystery.
Thomas is having Harry help someone who's fighting against the White Court.
yeah. So Thomas has gotten into internal politics, which is exactly where you don't want to be.
Thanks for nothing.
Amongst the White Court.
Thomas's father normally kills all of his male children because he doesn't want a threat. Thomas has been so.
He's the longest surviving male.
Yeah, because he normally doesn't give.
'Cause he acts like an idiot.
He gives
He acts
zero
like a
fucks.
party boy. He just goes
Yeah.
to birthday parties and chills and hangs out.
And Thomas, and he basically mind fucks and fucks all of his daughters into submission, so none of his
Yes.
daughters will ever fight against him.
So all of his daughters
he
Yeah.
makes it very dominant, but he doesn't fuck dudes.
well, he's got the misogynistic mindset. I mean, he's old school, like really old
is
school.
real
I mean,
old
he's
school.
hundreds of years old. So in his mind, the women are submissive. He just makes them submissive through mental and physical abuse, and the men he just kills.
Yeah.
And that way he never has a threat. Because a woman can never be a threat by nature of being a woman.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
big throwdown.
big throwdown with Black Court,
They
which
Black Court are hanging in the
amazing.
basement of a homeless shelter.
because they're assholes.
Rude.
Basement of a homeless shelter with a bunch of kids as hostages.
Yeah, super rude.
Super rude.
Yeah.
Did I mention the whites are the least evil?
So the interesting thing we find out, so
The ones that just tried to kill Dresden. Right?
Kincaid and Murphy show up. Kincaid was there ahead of time, kind of scoping it out. Turns out the Red Cross was also there for their monthly food,
Blood
food
drive.
Every time Kincaid is like, Harry's like, Kincaid, fix the problem. And Kincaid's like, yeah, I could probably do
I
that.
could do that.
Murphy's like, don't do anything illegal. And he's like, whatever.
That's basically their summaries.
There's some reason.
But then Harry has
Kincaid could solve everything if they just let him.
Kincaid is a problem solver.
He is. He's a fixer.
He's like, I say we throw grenades into the basement and demolish the building.
Yeah.
It'd work. If the problem is killing the Black Court vampires, problem solved.
Yes.
You know, if the problem is killing them without killing all the children and homeless people, well, then
To
that's
be
slightly
fair,
different.
Kincaid says that that's a bad idea to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's right. You know?
Let's solve one problem at a time. First, we'll blow everything up, and then we can worry about the children.
Well, blow everything up, and then if we see them, we just shoot it. I mean, it's pretty much going after the fact and shoot whatever's still crawling
Still
around.
twitching.
And he's like, light the building on fire, shoot anything that comes out.
The other very important detail is the dry. He gets a wheelman, the getaway man, turns out to be Ebenezer.
Yeah,
And
when
his
Ebenezer
mentor.
and Kincaid see each other,
It's almost like an immediate
It's a
throwdown.
throwdown. It is a
Evidently-
throwdown.
it is a
Kincaid's
throwdown.
got two Uzis out like immediately, and Ebenezer like
Has the
magnet
staff out.
throws them away
Yeah.
and grabs out his shotgun and is
Yeah.
like, "What the f?"
And
He's like, "If I ever saw you again, I said I'd kill you." And Kincaid's like, "Well, if I'd known you'd be here, I wouldn't have."
and he calls him Blackstaff.
He does call him
Which
Blackstaff.
Harry's like, what? What does that
What?
mean? He's like, we'll deal with this problem later.
That's a different problem.
It's an old college nickname. Don't worry about it.
I will say, I'm going to skip ahead. So after the encounter, obviously Harry lives because that'd be weird to keep going on.
That'd be a weird way to end.
Harry question. funny statement. After the fact, Harry asks Ebenezer, "What does Blackstaff mean?" And then Ebenezer just tells him this like ridiculous tale because Harry gets all upset about him being called Blackstaff. After rereading that book a couple times, I felt that Harry jumped to conclusions a little too radically. Like
He overreacted.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, he finds out the truth. He finds out that
Eventually.
the Blackstaff is basically.
We'll get there.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I'm skipping ahead.
But yeah, I mean, basically, he just hears a weird nickname and flips out about it. Is
Yeah.
kind of how it comes
Well,
across.
he flips out about the way Kincaid treated him.
Right, because it is. I mean, that's the thing. It seems like an overreaction to just be. His reaction is an overreaction if all he's reacting to is the fact that he has a weird nickname.
Yeah.
But it's not an overreaction when he's reacting to the fact that this horrifically deadly assassin reacted with, "I'm cornered against 10 lions," violent outburst against his, functional
Because
father.
Dresden has said many times, Ebenezer has been the one source of trust, his one
Right.
steady rock, and all
calls him
things.
Sir.
Yeah, he calls him Sir. He's the only person he really respects because he treats everyone. Doesn't mean he's a ridiculous person. To
There's a
everybody
problem
else.
with authority.
And so
Yeah.
the overreaction is only because it's been this rock, it's this safe place, And when you're on a lifeboat in the middle of the ocean, if you see a drop of water welling up in the bottom of that boat, you frickin' panic because you cannot have the smallest leak in your only safe haven.
Yeah.
And so it's not an overreaction in that, it's an overreaction if you see that leak in your sink, whatever. But when you see that leak in your lifeboat, you cannot have that, and you panic.
Because he finds out all sorts of. Well, I guess we can just say that for a second. But yeah, so So they have a big encounter down there. They have a big counter against the vampires.
Yep, it's kind of amazing.
I mean, it's
Claymore
hard.
mines, pants come off. It's a good
Murphy
time. It's
loses
good
their
fun.
pants.
Murphy does lose her pants.
There's a new, you learn this thing's called Renfield. What they call them Renfields is basically, there's humans that have been mind fucked so bad by the Black Court that they're slaves.
Just a murder
their brain is broke. There's no recovery of them.
And those are an
they
issue,
lost.
you know, because like most heroes, Harry would prefer not to kill humans.
Well, and Murphy doesn't want to break
And
the
Murphy
law.
doesn't want to kill
Yeah,
Murphy
she
doesn't
doesn't
want to
wanna
kill
kill humans,
anyone.
yeah.
So when Harry's like, well, it's a Renfield, it's not real.
yeah, you're right, it was
Murphy's
Murphy.
It's technically
Murphy's
a human
like,
that's already dead,
Yeah.
sort of.
He's like, it has a driver's license and a social security number. Like, it's a problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Harry's willing to kill them because he knows
Right.
they're gone. But Murphy's like, it's still a person. We can maybe save them. And Harry's like, it's impossible. They're
Yeah, no,
gone
you can't.
beyond. So they have to fight some of them, and that causes Murphy. It turns out there's and of course they go in there. There's a trap because Marva's laughing at them in the
Marva's
darkness.
laughing at
There's a
them.
room of with children being trapped in a corner with claymore mines, and then they come out. They send 2 Renfields forward. They shoot flamethrowers at
Yeah,
Dresden.
Marver decides to use Dresden's favorite toy against him.
Yeah.
Fire.
So he
And we
doesn't-
find out that his shield is not.
Is shitty.
He
is not-
forgot one detail about his shield because he stops the fire just fine.
Yeah, it's napalm. So he stops the
the
fuel.
napalm, the jelly.
Yeah.
The
But-
heat, on the other hand,
Yeah.
cooks his
fries his hand.
It literally, I mean, he literally for the next all these books, he
Yeah.
literally his hand shrivels up. It's
Oh
literally
yeah, he cooked his hand off like up to the elbow basically
Yeah. I mean, the doctors try it in the book. They tell him he should get it amputated. He doesn't because it's his.
because he's hairy.
But otherwise, but it's a useless appendage that got destroyed.
But it's his useless appendage.
yeah, he's not gonna get rid of it.
And
What's
then one other note about the vampire incursion, and then we'll move on, is that during one point to find out who's Renfields and who's not, Harry uses the gaze,
Yes,
and he
the sight.
sees Murphy again, still looking
Angelic,
like an
but
angelic
beat up.
Avenger, but tarnished
Yeah.
now. in
which is a
some
little,
ways.
which is sad. I found that to be sad because in
Yeah.
book 3 when he does it the first time, she's just really
Valkyrie.
Yeah, she's
Well, but it's because her mind was raped
correct.
basically
Yeah, exactly.
by the.
I mean, she's been fighting terrible shit, so obviously it's a little bit relaxed.
And then he also spots Kincaid, who looks like a giant hulking demon monster
yeah.
carrying like a spear of darkness.
Yes.
He's a good guy. I love Kincaid.
Kincaid is great. Kincaid is the most practical person there is.
I love Kincaid for the same reason I love Braun. I love mercenaries who will kill you in a nanosecond, but they will. It's not
They're loyal
personal,
to money.
and they're loyal to money. And no, it's nothing personal. It's like, hey, I am your bestest buddy.
I'm Karopoulos Michael.
Oh, wait a second. Blam. Sorry. Like, yeah, Crippled Michael. I sure love killing.
So yes, we find out a little bit about
Vampire
Kincaid.
fight. Marva gets killed in an encounter. Hooray.
Yeah.
She's down there and it
Harry had a
blows up.
paintball. 'cause
Some
Harry had a
people are
paintball
listening.
gun.
I'm air quoting for those of you
Well, the
listening.
funny thing is, so it's like Kincaid's give everyone guns. He's like,
Yeah.
I have a very good gun for you, Dresden. He gives him a paintball gun.
gun.
It's filled with like holy
water and garlic
Garlic
cloves.
water.
Yeah. But of course, at the end, he's like, "This gun's amazing. I'm going for myself." He's like, "Well, I didn't actually think it would work. I just didn't want to give you anything more serious."
He uses it to kill Mavra, and he's going on and on about how amazing it is. And Kincaid's like, "Really? You're pretty sure a paintball gun killed the most powerful Black Lord vamp?" I'm just saying, I didn't even expect it to do anything. I gave it to you to make you feel better. And Harry's like, "Oh, maybe she's not dead. Fuck."
Kincaid's like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
all
Way to
right.
be a dumbass.
So now
The check in the mail. Please.
Yeah. So now he's kind of.
Oh yeah, he owes a lot of money.
Yeah, he owes him. He's like, "Oh yeah." He didn't say how much he was going to owe, but he assumed it was going to
It's,
be like.
it's well
Oh,
outside of Harry's.
Yeah,
budget.
it's like assuming hundreds of in some insane number.
It sounded
lots
like
of monies.
my guess was like 80 grand or something like that.
Yeah.
More than Harry could ever possibly come together. And he had like 4 days of pay.
3.
He's like, "Yeah, just pay me on Monday or whatever,
Yeah,
Tuesday."
it'll be
know.
cool. Monday or
all
Tuesday's
good.
good.
And if you don't, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
That's
He's
but-
like,
and Harry's like,
he's like, I have to do that.
And Harry's
Otherwise,
like, no, you won't kill me because I'm a wizard and then my death curse. And he's like, well, let me explain to you how I'd get around your death curse. Because I've put some thought into this. If I get far enough away and I hit you with a supersonic bullet, you'll be dead before you knew I ever did anything and you can't see me. And Harry's like, oh, that could work.
I guess I'll pay you Monday.
I'll pay you money. That could totally work.
yeah, Harry's like, well, I'm going to pay you, but death curse. And Kincaid's like,
Trust me, kid. I'm not worried about killing wizards.
Your death curse sucks.
So now, as time is going on, he's finding more about what's causing the curse. He realizes, he knows the race are involved more, so he has to kind of encounter that. And he's like, he gets framed by Trixie.
The curse goes
so
off
he knows
again at a
he's
time.
back into place. He gets framed by Trixie because he had set up all these like ways that the curse was gonna come in. He was gonna redirect it back to the people who created it.
Yep.
But it turns out she was following him around and has screwed up his thing. And then she pulls out a gun and kills. The person gets killed.
yeah,
Yeah.
the curse uses her gun to
Yes.
kill one of the other people
Yeah.
there. and then she just drops the gun and screams like, "Ah, he's trying to rape me!"
Yeah, basically.
And of course, Harry has the gun in his hand. The door bursts open. Everyone's like, "Oh, look at Harry!
Look
Did
at
it."
Harry with the gun
"Oh."
picking on the dumb girl.
Yeah. But the thing is, when the police come, she forgets his
name.
So the entire book, she never bothers to learn his name. She always calls him like random names because he's not important enough to like have a name.
Right.
So she can't even tell the cops who he is. He's just some tall guy with a weird name, and he's not dressed like a wizard because he's not doing his normal get-up. So he doesn't even like.
Yeah, they just can't even figure out who he is.
Yeah.
And as Harry's running out of the building, he convinces one of the other cast members that it wasn't him, and so the rest of the cast knows his name perfectly fine, but don't chime in.
Well, he gives her the gun. He's like, I didn't do it. Here's the gun. If you don't believe me, do what you need. But it wasn't me. I'm going to save some people. I got to go.
Right.
And she's like, you're probably telling the truth.
So the rest of the crew don't give up his name because they trust him,
Yeah.
and Trixie's an idiot.
Yeah.
So he grabs
So not only was it okay to have her be dumb because every once in a while people are dumb, but it's a great plot
It
point.
was a good plot
and
point.
the other thing is, so he's gonna go deal with the race now. He gets Murphy to help. He would have got Ebenezer to help, but he finds out all these things about Ebenezer because he realizes the Black Staff is a title, and it's actually he's the Wetworks person.
They
of
haven't
the
talked
council.
about it yet.
Oh, because
They do talk about it in that book.
Yeah, it's in that book.
But he gets
He has found it out, but
It's right after they do the Black Court. He leaves. He asks Ebenezer what's that about, and then So he finds out all about like the Black Staff as a title. He has license. He's basically James Bond. He has license to kill.
Yep.
And he's like, but you taught me all about
You're
life.
the one that taught everyone about the rules, and now you're the one that's allowed to break them.
So
Son of a
he's
bitch, get out of my life.
Get out of my life. He gets all mad, and he's like, oh, okay.
Poor Ebenezer.
So he
yeah,
leaves.
except meanwhile, let's flash back a second. I mean, you kind of knew that Ebenezer does stuff. Well, I guess you didn't necessarily know Ebenezer did it.
He
but the
knew
point
he
is,
dropped the satellites.
satellites have fallen on people's houses.
Yeah.
vampires.
Vampires.
It wasn't
yet.
Not a
It
human.
wasn't for
Also-
certain that there were.
Also, that
people
hasn't happened yet.
No, it
Yeah,
happened.
it did.
That happened.
Oh, that's in
it
5.
happened
That's in
several
5.
books
Yeah,
ago.
that's in 5.
Ebenezer's like, turn on the news.
I'm using people as a generic humanoid term, not a human term.
Yeah.
The laws of magic do not apply to killing vampires.
Sure, but the
But
point
there
is,
were people in the house.
There
This
could
is
have been
a-
like
this is a
staff,
guy
cooks.
whose job is, well, sure, satellite smash. Like, his job is just to kill a bunch of people in a dirty, dirty way.
Yes.
So Harry shouldn't be too surprised that his job is to kill people in dirty ways.
But the thing is, he probably rationalized that the satellite falling,
It's a vampire, and so it's war
so
and
it was
stuff
fine,
like that. But
and I'm sure Harry had rationalized it.
Point is,
Point is, Harry gets super pissed.
there's
about it.
hints.
Yeah.
So Harry has come to the conclusion that it's all three of Arturo's ex-wives.
Ex-wives, and it's because they want money because Arturo's in love with someone else, and they don't know
I'm
who.
pretty sure that's
so they're
what the
just killing
rest of
all
his
the women around
sentence
him.
was going to be. Sorry.
So excited.
Do I have to bring back the interruption bell?
That was probably more annoying. for
Anyway,
our
all
listeners than
three of
me.
his wives are what, Keith?
are using this basically vending machine curse to try to kill who they believe Arturo's next wife to be.
Because they don't know who it is, so they just keep randomly
there's,
killing the women around him.
The most attractive woman, the closest to him, gets killed.
Yeah, because they might be the next wife.
Every 12 hours or so.
Right.
Yeah, because he realizes it's on a timer. He realizes it's targeting women, and then
And he realizes that Lord Wraith is helping them do it to use them as a cat's paw in order to bring an errant employee back into line, basically. And he's like, oh, weird. Like, porn, it makes perfect sense for the White Court to control the porn industry and to shape humans' ideas of what sex should look like so that they can more easily feed upon us.
And the White Court is all about subterfuge. They do not. If a White Court has to come out and physically deal with you, that is almost like they lose face with other White Court people. They have to do everything behind the
They're
shadows.
ashamed of their family.
Yeah, exactly. They do. They have to do everything subtly, and whoever is the most subtle wins. Is really how the White Court operates.
Whoever's
dying.
plan works the most subtly,
Yes.
victorious.
Yes.
Yeah, If you're
That's a good way
more
to put it.
subtle but you lose, you still lost.
Yeah.
You have to win.
Yeah.
And be subtle.
So there's so Harry's plan actually ends up being quite clever. He convinces Lara to use him as her cat's paw to get rid of her dad,
Right.
basically, because he comes to the conclusion there's no way that my mother didn't use her death curse on Wraith.
Because we also find out that Wraith killed her.
Oh yeah, that's a big.
that might be
that
worth
is an
mentioning.
important detail.
That might be worth mentioning.
He killed
she
his
must
mom.
have used it. He's immune to magic, but there's something she could have done. She had to be able to do something. What would I have done? Oh, holy crap! I bet he can't eat. I bet he's not eaten.
Since he killed my mom.
in 20 years or whatever, or 15. Some amount of years he's lost the ability. So he's
Well, Harry was born after Thomas.
true. So it's still a good chunk of time has
Very
gone
long
by.
time.
So
Yeah.
So his plan is, and then he gives Laura this information, and he's like, I'll take him out, and all you have to do is give me a little bit of information, and then, oh, I'm your cat's paw, and won't you be so subtle and
Wink,
in charge?
wink. Everything's
and
the
she's
best.
like, yeah, okay.
And the thing, if it doesn't work, then you can just the one who strikes me down, and you get either it's a win-win for you.
Yeah,
You know.
because either he wins and she wins, or he fails and she gets to kill him and not be in trouble.
Yeah.
like there's no risk to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after the confrontation in the cave, like Thomas is involved, Murphy is involved. There's some situations where she is again mentally put to the test from.
Because Thomas is basically because
Lord Wraith.
Lord
not
Wraith
Thomas.
is,
Wraith. And then the remaining wife, because at this point I think Trixie. Oh no,
One of
Trixie
the
comes back in and gets killed.
Trixie,
She pisses off Lord Wraith and gets killed.
gets killed by Lord Wraith.
And then
And the other one is
one of the other ones killed another one.
of the other
she
ones,
had, she had enough power to do it. By
Well, once it's
herself.
down to two of them, it's like, well, I guess the last one standing.
yeah. So there's one left.
yeah, and so there's the confrontation.
One important thing that happens in the fight is Harry uses Hellfire for the first time in this book.
Oh yes.
He uses a new. He realizes. I don't know if he calls it Hellfire, but he uses like a new.
Yeah, he uses a
imbued-
spell, and his staff like explodes in orange flame.
and it smokes of brimstone.
That's when
and
they go down to
and
kill
Bob,
Malbro.
Bob even tells him it's brimstone. It's Hellfire in that.
He
book.
asked Bob about it later. Bob's like, oh yeah, brimstone.
And then
Bad times.
Well,
So-
sometimes you use hellfire. It's a thing.
Apparently.
he ends up like getting Lord Wraith to admit that he can't feed and that
Yep.
he's weakened, and Laura chooses that, and that otherwise Harry is like screwed.
Yes.
But Laura's like, all right, he's weak. So Laura ends up being Harry's cat's paw to get her father.
So
to-
she comes
to
in
fix
and
this
mind
problem.
fucks
She mind
very
fucks-
weak
yeah.
Lord Wraith.
Because she can't be the head of the household because they run the way court, and if she tries to uproot him, it could cause all sorts of problems for her. So she leaves him in charge, but he's 100% mentally broken under her complete control.
Yeah, he's just a puppet. He's just a figurehead. She's just got her little hand up there and just saying, "Hi, I'm Lord Wraith. I'm in charge." And it's entirely her.
Yeah. And then they all win, and then they're happy. And then the other thing,
Hooray.
and then when the book ends, he notices on his hand, his burnt hand is burnt, except for a small patch that has the symbol of Lashiel, which is a coin that he
coin
buried
he had, yeah.
6 feet under. So all he knows at this point is he has access to Hellfire, and he has the symbol of that, the fallen angel on burnt into.
I'm sure that's fine. Like
It's-
when you have a demon
That's normal.
sigil seared in your hand.
Sometimes you get a burn, and you get a weird things you left behind.
Sometimes you have a demon sigil on your flesh and you shoot flames of hellfire.
Yeah,
like
Sometimes.
Thomas gets banished from his household and decides to crash on Harry's couch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and Harry finds out that Thomas managed to not kill his own girlfriend.
Yep.
Which is also a big thing in Harry's world.
Because
Yes.
no one could believe he could actually.
Yeah, and then what's funny is he
That's
can't.
how strong Thomas's
Yeah.
will to fight his vampireness is.
And the White Court's garlic is love. They can't feed on people that are in true love. And at the end of the book, you find out that Thomas can no longer touch his own girlfriend because not killing her was an act of love.
and
love,
her
quite
being
tragic.
willing to
And
die
her
was
being willing to die
also
was
an
also
act.
an
And
act of
Laura
love.
almost feeds on Harry, but because Harry is in love,
Love.
it pushes up. Because the last person he had sex with
Hasn't
was,
gotten none since Susan.
Since
Yeah,
Susan, and
since
he was in love with Susan. Still is in love with Susan. And that's the important thing.
so he was immune to
So,
her.
so Thomas's girlfriend is alive.
Or not Laura, it was his sister. That's what saved him from the sister. 'cause
That's what saved him from the
She
sister.
tried to kiss him.
That's what it was. Thomas didn't come
didn't
in.
save her. He came in right after,
And she burned her lips.
She was like, "Why am I in pain?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
I'm wrong.
Anara manages to not
corrected
turn into a
myself.
vampire. She manages to.
And for some unknown reason, Thomas buys large breed dog food for this puppy.
Yeah, the puppy
Yes.
that they decide to keep, and he's like, "What'd you name him?" Mouse, because he's
'Cause
just a little guy. Wait, why'd you buy huge dog food?
Why'd you buy large breed dog food and scene? Best last
That is
line.
the best part.
Glorious mouse.
Oh, and Thomas pays off Kincaid so Harry doesn't die.
yeah, that's right.
Which
is
blows off
convenient.
the rest of it. Basically, whatever money Thomas had left was spent to.
Yeah.
So however rich Thomas was the exact bill
He's now
for
broke.
Kincaid.
How Kincaid with Kincaid's exact receipt, it just said all of Thomas's money. Like by sheer coincidence. You owe me all of Thomas's money.
Hence being allowed to crash on Harry's couch because now he's broken out of a house.
Yep.
But he's got a little puppy
Hooray!
named Mouse.
It
The
only took us an
second
hour
best
to
pet.
do book 6.
Yeah, the rest faster. No more of that every paragraph.
Like we're gonna go through book 7 fast because book 7's deadbeat.
it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
like my favorite one.
So,
but
it's-
so do we want to talk about this book? Like
Yeah,
we've not done the synopsis.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was just.
That's what I'm saying. Faster
Yeah.
synopsis.
We have
We're gonna
to
speed up.
we have
well,
to
yeah.
crush
Well,
through
speed it
the
up.
next synopsis.
You're welcome, people.
You're welcome, everyone.
We're dialing in. We're dialing in.
we have to. Well, yeah, exactly.
So good things about this book for me. The introduction of Mouse as
It's
a character.
amazing.
Although
He doesn't do much.
Second best pet that Dresden has. Am I right, people?
You are wrong.
Second best
Wrong.
pet.
Wrong.
And obviously, all through the book, he's like, "I'm not keeping him. I'm not
Yeah.
keeping him. I'm not keeping him."
Mister.
So Molly's your favorite?
No, Mister. Shut up. Mister's the best.
Things I really liked about this book. Yeah, the introduction of Mouse, although he's not fleshed out yet.
Yes.
The broadening of the White Court's methodology and their goals. I think they did a good job of explaining that and of like why they do what they do as far as their workings within the human realm. Otherwise, for the overall plot, like this isn't one of my favorites.
And it's not an essential one necessarily. Like if you were if you needed to get all the major plot developments, somebody could just hand you a pamphlet that says, "Oh, BT Dubs, Thomas is his brother," and you
he
could
has
go
a
to the
dog.
Yeah, I
next
mean,
book.
Thomas's brother Ebenezer's just saying he hurts his hand. He's
And he has a
slowly
dog.
getting these hellfire things. It's like the details are more important than the actual overall plot in this particular book.
It's very insular. You know,
Yeah.
it's a mystery and it has its adventure, but the overarching plot things are very minor. It's just those little touches.
I mean, that's common within Dresden that
Yeah.
that the plot of the book is not part of the grander
Book
scheme.
7's an
but-
exception almost in
but
between
things,
6
but
and 10.
parts of it are
and it's kind of a
important.
breath before, you know, because you had the first 5 for world building. This is kind of like an inhale before 7, 8, and 9 are almost a trilogy. You know, about, you know, Demon Sickle there. I mean, and 10 as well. Like the next 4 books. So it's almost all 5 of these books are a mythos in their own in this like mini-series adventure about, you know, the effects this coin is going to have.
Yeah.
Yep. Because Murphy doesn't really change in this
Nope.
book. She doesn't go through much more development. She's doing better about facing the fears that she's developed after book 3 or 4.
Right.
3.
3, yeah.
And
And all the new characters, like White. I mean, Arturo's a new character, and the White Court are the new characters. But
I mean,
that's-
Laura's a really good character that they introduced for the first time.
yeah, she's a big.
and Laura's a big deal.
Laura's
and
a big
she's
deal.
well, yeah. I will talk about her later, but yeah, because
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it doesn't do anything, but it's just
But
it's,
the
it's very
actual-
insular.
I would agree that the entire porn plot, if it was dropped, I'd be okay with it. Like, if you could somehow still engineer him fighting with Lord Wraith and the introduction of Laura, and then the whole Black Court fight's really cool. The whole porn shoot thing, that whole thing,
The White Court
It is fun.
it was
It's got
just
its moments.
it's fun, and there's some great interactions. There's this he keeps talking about when he talks to different porn actors. Some of them are smarter than others, and
Yes.
there's this whole feng shui silly thing going on inside. And
Within the book, the porn plot works very, very well.
It does.
It's just if you're looking at the whole 15-book mythos, it does not maintain importance. But within just this book, I think it is necessary. With
I'm not
how
saying
it
it's
functions.
not necessary. I'm saying I agree with Keith that it's one of my least favorite story arcs.
Oh, okay, sure.
Not even among probably my. It's just not among my favorites. And it's because the porn arc is only a method for him to discover more about the White Court.
Right.
Like the plot of this book is Harry learning about the White Court.
Yes.
Not necessarily the face value porno mystery.
Right.
All right. So for Deadbeat, I think let's try. I'm just going to sum it up, and then we'll go directly to talking about the.
just sum it up.
Yeah.
It's
Just
the most
sum up
ridiculous.
Deadbeat.
Well,
Yeah.
starts off 3 days before Halloween.
Yeah.
Go.
So we find out there are necromancers in town.
Yep.
The necromancers, throughout a series of actions and misadventures, we find out that their overarching goal is to summon the Earl King, who is a hugely powerful fairy. Who
Equal power to like a.
Yeah,
The,
he's like-
the
He's like
queens of winter
the
and Queen of
Goblin
Summer.
King, and goblins are tough and mean now. But anyway,
and he summons the Wild Hunt, which is like a group of hunter spirits that rage through and just
murder everything.
They just have a good time.
they
to their
have a
minds.
join or die policy.
Yeah.
They do.
And the Earl
I
King.
don't think everybody's really given the option to join either. It's mostly
No.
just 99% of people have a die or die policy, and every once in a while they're like, sure, you're in.
Yeah.
I think if you say it fast enough,
Yeah.
you're always in.
That's why you just walk around going, I'm in, just in the hopes the Earl King's
Yeah.
listening.
And so we find out that their plan with this is like the summoning. They are apprentices of this greater necromancer called Kremler, who is dead as far as we hope know. And that there is a ritual that they can perform that will destroy the souls in a vast area around them and grant one of them godlike power.
Luckily, they're in a little out-of-the-way place that don't have a lot of people called Chicago? Chicago.
Chicago?
Chicago.
And so Harry goes up against forces much greater than himself in an attempt
And there's
to stop
multiple
them.
organizations, which is interesting. Like there's like 3 or 4 core factions that are all fighting
Yeah,
over this.
his apprentices, none of them get along.
Harry goes up against forces much greater than himself is the summary of 15 Dresden file
But
books.
it's so bad he actually asks the council for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy thing. He actually gets some characters.
Unfortunately, they were just like massacred by the Red Court, so they send like 3 beat to shit people.
Although
That's
one
true.
of them is
Although
the
one of
captain.
them is the captain.
And
One of them is Warden Ramirez. That's enough. And Warden Ramirez, like, depending on the mood I am, it's either mood I am. The mood I am in, either Ramirez or Kincaid is the best character in these books.
All right. So that's the overall structure. Now we can talk about things within the book that we like that we feel are important.
well, I think things that are important is early on. Murphy goes out of town immediately. She's going on a vacation with
to
someone.
Hawaii.
A sex vacation with Kincaid.
And this is actually the first book where Thomas is like, you probably have feelings for Murphy, and he's like, I don't think I do, but maybe I do. So we're 7 books in,
And the readers are finally like, thank you!
Thomas is like, you should stop being such a pussy and ask her out.
You should stop being a pussy and get some pussy.
Dresden's like,
That's
what,
pretty much
do what
Thomas
now?
says.
He's like, well, wait, do I have feelings? And then so that starts up.
Yeah.
Marver comes back and she's like, look, you're gonna find me the Book of Kremler, and of course early on he doesn't know what that is, or I'm gonna. She has all this blackmail on Murphy.
She has pictures of Murphy shooting Renfields, which just look like people with
Murdering
driver's
people.
license and social security cards. in the
And
face.
Murphy's hair, which is
Yeah.
in some ways the more scary thing.
Yes, because so he's like, well, fuck you, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's basically true. And of course, you can't tell anyone that you're doing. You're giving me the book.
Yeah, he's really, and Harry really puts on the martyr complex about that. He's like, oh, Murphy's going out of town to have sex with like a demon dude. Weh, I guess I'll stay here and like violate all my principles to save her and water her plants.
As he's investigating these things, also my one of my 3 favorite characters gets introduced in this book because he goes to the morgue because he's like, okay, weird things are happening, necromancers. I'm going to check out what the dead bodies are like in town because that's probably where it's going. And then he knows one of the people who work in the morgue. He meets Waldo Butters,
Everyone
who
knows
is the
it's
polka
Butters.
king of Chicago. He's a short little guy who's
Short,
just
fat, and bald.
He's like the
And
third
Jewish.
place.
he's like
polka king.
he's short, fat, and bald. Like he's 40ish years old. He just he works the midnight shift at the morgue because in like book 3 he's a guy who had to actually analyze the vampire body. So he put down not
Human-like or something
human-like,
like.
which he put him in the psych ward.
Humanoid,
for a while.
but definitely not human.
Human, yeah.
And that gets you the midnight shift.
And the psych ward.
So
Yeah.
he's there at the morgue to like ask questions. He has this fun dialogue with Butters. At first he kind of doesn't. He likes Butters, but he isn't. He's not. He grows on him
Well,
more.
doesn't he already know? Wasn't Butters introduced in
No.
the...
He met Butters really quickly in a previous book.
Yeah, he was
like
he
a
was,
30-second Butters.
Same with like Ramirez.
We
Like,
haven't
they-
gotten to the Nickelhead book yet, have we?
what?
The first book.
Yeah, that was
where-
book 5.
Yeah, that's where
that's
Butters
fine.
gets introduced. 'cause
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going 4.
go as long as we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You're not my supervisor.
So Butters is an important character, and then when he's meeting Butters, that's where the first group of and the cool thing about the necromancers, they always have to keep the thing with this world is their power is they have to keep a beat, so they're always like tapping a drum or doing some kind of musical thing to
Bass
keep
through a car.
Yeah, well,
Wait. Dead beat.
whoa,
There's zombies and rhythm.
holy crap,
Holy
we cracked a
moly.
code.
But Harry's beat is also Chicago, like a cop. What? And there's dead things on it now because of the necromancer.
No, I don't think that works.
So Waldo is also a cop.
Wouldn't there not be dead things because of the necromancers? Now there's undead things?
The cool thing about Waldo is he's kind of a coward, not in a bad way.
Kind of?
Well, I mean, he's like most people he meets. They help him fight, and Butters is like, dead things are scary. I wonder. Well, not dead bodies because he can deal with that, but like zombies and necromancers is like out of his league because he's just
Cowardice and wisdom are very, very close friends. Like,
so that's a big part early in the book. So he meets the first necromancer, Gavain, and he meets Liver Spots, who looks familiar for
looks
some
familiar, he
reason.
doesn't know why.
So then he goes off with Butters, and he goes to the bookstore because he's like, I need to find the Word of Kremlin. Maybe it's at the bookstore. Or he saw they had a copy of a book.
Yeah, he saw the book they had. He wanted to try
He's
to
like, I
copy
need
it.
to read that book. So
because there's a lot of women troubles in this book because not only does he first start kind of thinking about his thing with Murphy, but this is also the book where they introduce
yeah,
Sheila.
Sheila. So at the bookstore, The interesting thing in the bookstore is the guy who works there is like, Dresden, you're cool and all, but you're kind of creepy lately. And when you come here, my other customers leave. So if you could stop coming, it'd be better. Dresden's like, I'm sad now because I thought people liked me.
Why do people hate
And Murphy's
me?
having sex with someone else.
Yep.
And
But then he looks at like the shop where all the windows have now been blown out, and he's like, "Nah, probably fair."
So he's there. He meets a girl,
Do destroy
Sheila,
things.
who has like eidetic memory.
Eidetic, yeah.
And she helps him find the stuff.
Photographic
He takes
memory.
one of the copies of the. She takes the last copy. He's on his way out, and there's like two dudes and like wearing
Dudes.
two robed individuals.
Yes.
Up front, threatening the clerk, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to be." He walks up and starts yelling. I mean, he threatens the guy who's working to pretend that he's not his friend.
Like you do.
And he, uses magic, and they get this big fight outside. And turns out one's a girl, one's a dude.
Yeah.
Kamori
Kamori and Cal.
and Cull. Cull is super fucking powerful.
Yes.
He's like, even like in their first exchange, Harry's like, I can't believe I survived that. Like accidentally, like even like their first burst of magic.
Harry's like, I'm gonna use this Hellfire stuff again, even though it's probably a bad idea. And boom, flip a car on Cal, and Cal's just like, meh.
meh. And then of course he probably would die, except for he's in the neighborhood of the college, which is where the wolves live.
The Alphas.
The Alphas live. So he kind of gets rescued by the Alphas.
Who also say he's been acting weird and crazy
Yeah,
lately.
and then it was just cool because he's finally, because they're like, for the last 2 years you've been acting, you're more anger, but you get to anger really quick. You're just acting really weird. He's like, man, that's the exact same time I got the coin. That seems weird that my attitude's been.
He's like, I am not.
Wait, maybe.
Maybe.
Who you calling a psycho? I'll kill you if you call me a psycho.
So he opens up with them and tells them, he's like, I can't, this is kind of a hush hush thing, but I did happen to touch this demon thing. I'm dealing with it. It's fine, but I apologize.
Please don't tell any holy knights.
Yeah.
Also, all the shit that's going down is his continued chorus to the Alphas, which is, "Oh, this is out of your league. Sit down and shut up."
He's like,
It's his chorus to everyone for the whole
Yeah.
series.
He gets better about it.
He does. This was like an hour-long discussion in the first episode, was that he does that to everybody.
So he has Butters on the side. He goes out, then he encounters another group of people who he meets another interesting character called the Corpse Taker, who basically just like, she uses a body for a long time, then she just she changes bodies so easily. She like basically like either touches you or says a word and she just switches bodies. And
She's a body hopper.
Yeah. So those are like the three core factions, and then he asks Bob, "Hey Bob, you ever hear of Kremler?" And Bob's like, "Oh, I can't tell you about that.
I don't remember, boss.
He's like, "What do you mean? I made myself forget Kremler." He's like, "Well, I order you to tell me about Kremler." And then evil Bob appears.
Oh my God,
And
evil
almost
Bob.
kills.
Nearly kills
nearly
Harry.
kills
Nearly
him.
kills Harry, only because he remembered a key word to like shut Bob down.
Before the conversation Bob starts, Bob tricks him into basically a keyword to make him flee back into the skull. In my opinion,
Yeah.
you can read it different ways. In my opinion, Bob tricks him into setting up the keyword.
It's quite possible. Bob is that smart.
Bob is that smart.
So, because evil Bob was basically a tool of the original Kremler, and Kremler is like this guy who basically.
By the way, I have to stop you. Kemmler. Thank you. Carry on.
Kemmler was like this. I mean, because
the Kremlin.
He was a super bad guy. He took the entire White Council to defeat him. Like they killed
Several
him
times.
Several times. So he's like a badass. He's this motherfucking badass guy. So
Yes.
Bob
Used to be his sidekick.
Dresden makes him permanently forget that information.
Bob's
Bob gets ejected. From
Bob's history is explained as he was Kremler's assistant. Kemmler's assistant.
Now we're doing it on purpose.
He was the Russian wizard's assistant.
Yes.
Yep.
Kremlin.
Yep.
Kremlin.
He was Kremlin's assistant.
And when the wardens got him, one of the wardens that was there was Justin Dumorn, and he totally destroyed
Bob's skull.
the spirit that.
And Justin was a really good guy, so Bob probably learned some really like friendly flower making.
Bob got
from-
taken out of the wreckage of Kemmler, and then Dresden took him out of the wreckage of Justin's place.
It does seem to be the way that Bob gets passed on is in the wreckage of his former owner's house.
that
Spoiler.
Spoiler. Spoiler.
Can't go on book 10.
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
It kind of makes sense because when you have a Bob at your disposal, no one's getting him away from you unless
you're
your
dead.
house has been destroyed around you. Like you don't lose him if you haven't lost everything.
So moving on to like 3/4 of the book, another cool thing is basically Harry's like, fuck it, I need help. Calls the White Council. They're like, we'll be there in like 12 hours. And then suddenly his entire house gets under siege by like an army of undead.
Yep.
Because I think it was Ravane comes with an army of undead.
Yep.
And then
Corpse Taker
comes
shows up with
and
her ghost army.
So everyone's sort of fighting everyone. Butters gets captured in the process.
Yep. by Gravane.
Actually, before
he
this,
gets mind fucked by Gravane.
The big thing before this, actually, there's a big encounter where because Corpse Taker was taking the body over of like a professor guy
At the museum.
and Dresden was there trying to figure out what was going on. You know, it's like the museum where they have all the skeletons of all the things and you know,
Natural History Museum.
That's where it was.
Natural History Museum in Chicago. The Ghost in the Darkness are
Bob
outside.
is being and Dresden gets taken out, not killed, but he gets sucked by the Liver Spots guy. He realizes that Liver Spots guy is the character from Book 5 who used to have a denarian, a coin.
Snake Boy.
Which I don't know why that guy's mad, because Dresden gave him money for a phone call.
25
like, he did him a
cents.
favor.
He broke his leg,
Broke his
gave him a
legs.
quarter for a phone call.
He might have shattered his legs with a baseball bat.
but
But
he-
the last thing he did was he did that guy a favor. He knew he would need to make a phone call, and he gave him a quarter.
So the guy is going to kill Dresden. He's like, I want your coin. I know
I know you have it on you because no one wouldn't have it on them.
And Harry's like, I don't have it. He's like, you have it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, I'm being attacked by Denarian. Maybe a knight of the cross will come if I have faith. I don't have faith, but I'm going to believe that a knight.
I'm
going
going
to
to pray and have faith.
No knight come save him. But out of the backness, Butters had run away with Mouse, but
Because he's a coward.
But he actually comes back. Butters comes back and actually saves
Butters and Mouse come back and save him.
Yeah, which is kind of it's like Butters' moment of not being. He's still cowardly, but he knew he had to stand up for himself a little
So,
bit.
in the middle of that fight, the demon coin pauses time. I feel like that's important and worth mentioning. And is like, hey, by the way, it doesn't matter what you do with that coin. I can teach you to summon it to you right now. We can just blow all these fuckers up.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you are being tortured to death in the museum by a very powerful person, but like if you would just summon the coin, like we can make all this go away.
At this point,
And he's trying so hard
Lashiel
not
turns
to.
up the pressure on her sales pitch, and she's like, "I'm still here, and I can still chat with you."
well, at this point, we should mention who the hell Lashiel is.
Yeah.
That comes next.
No. Technically, that came before
That
this.
came right before they
you
go
guys
to
have
the
jumped,
Field Museum.
We jumped ahead. Yeah, it's before the Field
jumped
Museum
ahead.
that happens.
No, it comes after. Yes, because this is just a concept. I guarantee you that
Okay.
that scene you're talking about happens after, because
Yeah,
at this
he's
point he
correct.
still doesn't know.
Okay.
so the
It's the
demon
the
only
is
way he's able
talking
to walk
to
is
him.
with
Well,
the
okay,
demon.
that's what I mean. Lashiel, the
Lashiel
demon
is talking to him.
right? Because we didn't mention that that's a thing yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
by the
know,
way, the
the
coin.
last we talked about was that he had a signal.
It doesn't
that
start
at
till
this
this book.
point. You're right. At this point in the books, the entity of Lashiel, who was in that coin, is now in his head talking to him and trying to tempt him into picking the coin up and actually carrying it and becoming a full-fledged Denarian.
Yes.
And
That's what I'm saying.
so he decides not to do that. Decides to have faith that
He's
a
like,
knight
I don't
will-
want any power except the hellfire sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't want any knowledge except
The important stuff sometimes.
When I really, really
Sometimes
need
when I
it.
really
Yeah,
need it.
because he knows because that whole point of the Sheila, she's a master of deception. She's like the best
Seduction and deception.
the web weaver.
Well, and that's the thing is like he's definitely the adage of road to hell paved with good intentions. Like that's the thing, the hellfire when he needs it, the information when he needs it. Because if there's people that need to be saved, and he can save them by giving into her just a little bit more, he's gonna do it.
Yeah.
And she knows that she's immortal. If it takes him 1,000 years to give in enough to eventually take up the coin by full, she'll just wait 1,000 years.
Yeah,
What's
I mean-
1,000 years to her?
He's a wizard. He's going to live a long ass time. So
Right.
she's got all the time in the world to
So
tempt
she
him.
doesn't have to hard sell it, except when he'll
about to
die.
die.
He'll die if she doesn't hard sell it, and that's
then-
when she does the stop time.
She's
and
like,
go,
the coin's in 6 feet of concrete.
But he does resist. He doesn't do it, and then he gets luckily saved by Butters.
Yes. Butter saves him.
Which is pretty exciting.
Very excited.
He does, and this is after he and Butters have found the location of the word of Kremlin.
Also,
He's holding it at the time,
Well,
in fact.
he loses the book of Kremlin, so he gets the book. He fights off Cowell. He looks through it once. He like skims through every page of it.
Yeah.
And then he goes. He's just in the alleyway. He gets jumped by Kemry. Corpse Taker had a ghoul.
Gravane.
Camry.
Gravane.
No, I'm sorry. Corpse Taker's had a ghoul as her like pet.
Oh, Lysian.
And Dresden's
Or
about to get killed in the alleyway.
Yep.
But he gets saved by Marcone of all people.
Yep.
Because he had called Marcone for some information. And when Marcone comes out, because Marcone literally, if Marcone doesn't act, Dresden dies. And God is with him. And we've met God before. She's the Viking. She's
Guard,
the
yeah.
Valkyrie. And she's like, well, this was Dresden's time to die because she can see these things. And you've interrupted in Harry's, time to die. And he's like, it's okay. I don't
I'm
care.
Marcone. I do what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
But
get over
it
it.
was kind of creepy that she can sense when someone's supposed
About
to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what Valkyries. That's what
they do.
mythically supposed to do.
Yeah.
She's awesome, by the way.
She is awesome.
Well, whenever she comes on, she always plays Ride of the Valkyries when she's in a
She's amazing.
and that's an important thing to do. So so that happens, and then he loses the book. But he's like, I need to know this book because I need to know what the fuck is going on. He goes to Sheila. He's like, Hey, Sheila, He
loses the Earl King book.
He loses the
and
Earl
so
King
he goes
book.
to Sheila.
because she's read it and she has a memory.
So she probably
And,
has
and he's been
all
talking
in
to her.
there.
She's like, maybe we should, he's kind of like, or
They're
'cause
flirty.
They're flirty. He like, maybe I should
Sexy
date
librarian.
again because sexy librarian. So he's carrying Butters. This is before Butters get captured. He's keeping Butters with him. He's like, I'm gonna go upstairs, talk to Sheila, because also the town is being fucked up because there's energy for the spells going. Power is out. I think Cal broke the power in the city, or it's just dark all the time.
Yeah.
Yep, Cal shut
basically-
down. It's dark and Cal shut down the power.
Yeah, so all sorts of shit's going
Both
on.
independent things.
Yes. So he's up there. He's like, "Hey, Sheila, can you remember the book? Can you tell me what's going on?" And then she's telling him all this stuff. And then Butters comes in. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
With the dog again.
With
Hey,
the
Butters,
dog.
Harry, why are you in a derelict, abandoned building talking to yourself?
And
In the dark.
And Sheila's like, "Oh, fuck."
Son of a... This is an inconvenient timing.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the love interest he met was just a...
What's Sheila backwards? La Sheil?
Not quite.
Not quite. It's
The
got-
syllables are.
The syllables are.
Sheila, La Sheil.
Yeah.
It's literally like not spelled
Yeah, oh,
backwards.
yeah, if
It's
you
just
take the
you
syllables.
reverse the two syllables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, son of a bitch."
And he's like, I can't trust you because you're evil. And she's like, all right, wait. I'm going to show you something cool here. Hold on for a second. And she like makes him see the entire building in flames and a fire escape out a window. And he goes running towards the window. And as he's about to jump out, she like turns it off. And he realizes he was about to jump out of the 7th story of a building into nothing.
There was no
And she
fire
goes,
escape.
I could do this to you anytime.
Yeah.
Back the fuck off.
I don't want to hurt you.
I don't want to hurt you.
So, like,
what if I could?
Cool
What if
it
I
with
wanted
the
to?
attitude.
Well, then he has this conversation between. Well, I mean, I think it's the next book. Where he has a conversation because he
In the hot
multiple
tub?
times in the book he has his inner self. He literally talks to himself as a visual representation. Usually
His id.
He gets knocked
Yeah, this
unconscious,
is that one,
and then
with the
him
hot
and his
tub.
id.
That's this one.
So
Yeah.
him and his id and the Sheila are having this conversation of like who should he accept her power or not. It's a very obnoxious.
It's after he gets knocked unconscious by the baseball bat.
Yes, he always has. It's always amusing when he gets knocked unconscious.
He's like, you're much easier to talk to when you're unconscious.
Yeah. I really like. No, I like your unconscious better. He's easier to talk to.
But stuff happens.
So stuff happens. He
Book
summons,
stolen. Need to go rescue the
Dresden,
world.
So we're getting to the end. Dresden's plan is he'll summon the Erkling.
Earl King.
Erkling.
Urkling.
Sure.
He summons.
It's like Steve
The
Urkel.
Urkling is.
I know that's what I thought. He summons Steve Urkel. And,
Steve Urkel is going to battle the Kremlin.
yeah. So if he summons them, that means they can't summon him and they can't get their power. So he'll
can't
win.
make him a god.
So he summons him, and this guy is like not happy with him because it's this big demon or not demon.
Everybody else wants to summon and set him loose. Harry's like, I'm just going to summon him and trap him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he
Earl
does
King
it.
doesn't like being trapped.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm going to get you for this. And then after he does it, he gets knocked unconscious from behind because, of course,
Cal.
No, Cal, what's her name?
Is it Kamori?
just
that does it?
Kamori.
Okay.
Because Cal would have killed him. Kamori
Yeah,
knocks him
that's fair, that's
unconscious,
fair,
releases
that's fair.
the Earl King. He's like, well, crap.
Yeah.
Now there's all the spell going on downtown. Because like these swirling mists and shit's going on. And then the council comes. They make it, also the other big detail. They're like, we're going to help you out, but here's your gray cloak. You're now a
Yeah.
warden. And he's like,
By the way, we
"Fuck
need you."
I don't want to be a warden. Like, well, that's no choice. You're a warden.
That's
Because
the
in the
price.
background, like a bunch of
One of us.
Yeah.
Google.
Well, because a lot of wardens have been killed recently because of war with the Red Courts going
Yeah.
bad.
They're losing hard.
And it becomes apparent at this point that the leader of the Wardens was unaware to an extent of how badly he'd been treated by Morgan specifically.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
because
He was
Morgan's
like,
one of the
why
people
would
there.
why would I join you? You've been like trying to frame me and kill me my whole life. And she's like, that's an overreaction. He's like, no,
No,
that's
no, that's
literally
literally
what's
it.
been happening.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Oops.
So he tells them,
Sorry, your PO
he's
was a jerk.
So he tells them, hey, you guys go downtown, get prepared for the big encounter. I'll be down there in a minute.
Yeah.
That's not quite how it happens. But he does
He had to
tell them
get
to
a
go
ride.
ahead of time. He has to get down there. So we do meet.
And just before you describe this, the hilarious thing about this next scene is that one of the people we know, who's an odd little fellow, says that this is the moment that the Dresden Files jumped the shark for him. This is the moment that was
Nothing
too
that's happened
over
up
the
till
top.
now.
So Harry is like, well, we need to get down there. We need to get down there fast. And he's like, hey, Waldo, do you have your polka suit with you? Because we didn't mention this.
One-man band.
He's a one-man band. He's got the whole ridiculous nonsense going on.
and from reading the word, he knows that to survive in an environment where the, what's it
Swirl
called?
is happening.
The
vortex.
The Kremlining.
Yeah, the Kremlin.
So when that's happening, he knows he has to be around undead things. So he needs to
You
create.
must be a necromancer to enter it.
You have to have necromantic energy.
Yes.
or you will die.
Or you die.
It'll consume you.
Yeah, just eat you.
So he decides he's in the museum. He also the thing about we learn out is the older the bones, the more powerful the entity is.
the more powerful it
That's
can
why,
be.
because some of those guys were using like Civil War warriors and things like that, and he's like,
You can't, because otherwise you could just kill random schmucks and raise them. But because of this rule, they are shitty.
The older the bones and the more intelligent the bones, because that's why most people that are necromancers take humans,
Right.
Because they're naturally more powerful than like rats.
So he's like, I'm in the Natural this museum. I wonder what he looks up. He's like, oh yeah, that thing's a few kabillion years old, and he gets
Susan.
Sue the
Tyrannosaurus
T-Rex.
For those of you who don't know your natural history, Sue is the only complete Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton ever discovered.
Yes.
So she's, maybe 65 million years old.
She's old.
Give
So
or take.
he rides downtown, and a T-Rex with Waldo
Butters.
Butters
Playing
polka in the background, powering the thing.
On
He
the, also
learns-
on the back of the T-Rex.
Yes, yeah. He learns it's very hard to corner with the T-Rex. The first time he kind of misses his turn when he gets
Takes
downtown.
out a little bit of a building.
So he gets downtown, riding in the back of a T-Rex. That's just booking it down the road. And obviously, when he uses the necromantic energy, it actually gives him its shell of a body. So it's not a skeleton T-Rex. It's actually like a physical T-Rex. It's an actual.
This is worth repeating again because it encapsulates the beauty of the Dresden Files. So he rides his polka-powered reanimated Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton down into the heart of Chicago to prevent the apocalypse.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, because
To
what's
prevent the
happening?
birth of a dark god.
Yes,
Dark
yes.
God that'll probably
This is the
kill the
Dresden
Midwest.
Files.
It's probably the end of the Midwest, and a god will be created.
Yes.
Yes.
Not the world, just the Midwest and a new
But
god.
also
I happen to
God.
live in the Midwest. It is the world. Although this is Illinois, so fuck it.
And it might get up to Milwaukee, maybe.
Milwaukee, yeah. No, we can't have that. The Brewers live there.
So obviously he gets down there, and it's just page after page of him just mowing through things in a T-Rex. Everyone is like, they just see me like,
He's got a T-Rex. That's not fair.
The thing one shots just swallows. It literally does the Jurassic Park eat the lawyer, but it eats the ghoul in just one gulp.
Yeah.
Nonsense. It's just
Crushes the other necromancers like entourages.
Entire armies.
The one notable event that happens before the finale is that in a skirmish with Corpse Taker, she manages to like quick swap with the leader of the Wardens.
Anastasia Lucio.
because Anastasia stabs Corpse Taker, mortally wounding her.
Yeah.
And then she
As
switches
Corpse
body.
Taker switches body.
So, because Anastasia's walking away, and she's like, "Come on, let's go fight him." And then the way she's sitting, Dresden looks at her, is like, that seems weird.
Does she call him Harry instead of Warden Dresden or something like that? I don't remember exactly
She says
how
one
she does
thing.
it.
He thinks about it for a split second and puts a bullet in her head. thinking,
She's ignoring like the wounded.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's like
what it was.
I'm like she shoots him thinking, well, I hope I'm right. Shoots her, and of course, what's his name?
Morgan goes
Morgan
batshit.
Morgan is standing right there, seeing
goes
Lucio.
apeshit.
So he starts trying to kill.
And Nathan's favorite character saves the day.
Yeah, Warden Ramirez.
Yeah.
So as fucktard, what's his name?
Morgan?
Morgan is attempting to kill Harry, and Harry is very carefully not having Sue eat him. And losing the fight while having Sue not
Because
eat
Morgan,
Morgan,
in a battle, in a physical battle, Morgan is going to win that.
every time.
Yeah.
Warden Ramirez notices, hey, maybe I'll go see if Harry's story is right. And he goes and grabs the almost dead Corpse Taker body and talks to her, soul gazes her, and is convinced that it is Anastasia Lucio.
Yeah.
And saves Harry's life.
Yeah. And because Waldo has medical ability, he's able to save.
Waldo's able to save Lucia in the new body.
And she went from like being like in the body of like a 67 or probably 50 to 60-year-old. I mean, she's still like
700.
But her body. I mean, she went from being an old body to like because Corpse Taker was in a
Corpse
body of
Taker
like a
was like
19-year-old,
30-year-old, yeah.
20-year-old.
So she got an upgrade.
Yeah.
I don't think she sees it that way.
No,
I know.
Because she loses some abilities. But
And
then
then Harry and Sue and Ramirez and Bob end up saving the day,
Hooray.
totally killing Cowell,
Totally killing Cowell.
definitely killing Gravane.
Definitely killing Gravane. There is no air quotes around the Gravane part.
I think he gets eaten by the T-Rex again.
Probably.
Yes.
the sheer nonsense of these characters is ridiculous. Just the different factions and just their power level and the stuff going on is just it's so much fun to read because it's written in such a fast pace and there's just I mean you have T-Rexes, you have multiple
That book's so good.
undead armies going
This
on.
book is, I mean, really possibly the most quintessential Dresden Files book.
Yeah.
It is my favorite.
Yeah, like whether or not it's
It's
your
in my
favorite,
top
it is
three.
the
It's in my
most
top three.
Dresden Files book.
Yeah.
And it's worth pointing out, just because people sometimes get the idea that Bob is just like a helper spirit, Bob takes control of Sue and not only kills Gravane himself, after escaping from Gravane by helping Harry trick Gravane into releasing the skull, he also saves Warden Ramirez's life when Ramirez would have gotten fucked up by the vortex.
Because I forget how, because at some point Butters has to go help, so he just lets...
No, Butters stays back at the hotel
Yeah.
playing the Oompa Oompa from a distance.
Because Sue has Sue's glowing
it's
eyes.
loud enough.
Yeah.
It's loud enough that Sue can hear it, because they're like on the edge of a
because
park.
Morgan had to take over for a while.
Yes.
So Morgan's in the polka
Yeah,
suit.
apparently at some point Morgan's playing polka.
Because he was taking care of what's her name.
Yeah,
Yes.
Butters is saving the
Because
captain.
he looks up and sees Sue, and she's got like the glowing eyes that Bob always
And
has.
she
on the
knows, yeah,
skull.
because when he first gets there, Gravane or Cal, I forget
Gravane.
which, is holding the skull, and Bob's like, "Dude, sorry, boss." Like
He's
the
my
whole,
boss
like
now.
in Aladdin, like at the very end of Aladdin, it's basically that. Sorry, boss, he's the boss now. And then basically, Harry tricks him into dropping the skull, and then Bob saves the day with the dinosaur.
Because once he physically lets go of the skull,
Yeah.
Bob can interpret that wink wink as him not wanting Bob anymore, so now he's not his
While
anymore.
you hold the skull, you're in charge. When
And
you
he
don't
just
hold the
says,
skull,
"Bob, I release
Bob
you."
has free control.
Which kind of means that Bob could leave Harry anytime he wanted to. Because it's not like
Yes.
Harry carries the skull around
Yeah, right.
constantly.
Well, the funny thing is, because Dresden figured he'd go get some body. He just didn't think
He didn't think he'd hide in Sue.
Yeah.
Like, he knew that he had to hide somewhere or he'd be taken over by the vortex. He just didn't picture Sue as being that place.
It's a convenient body.
It's pretty. The whole thing is amazing, and then of course at the very end, he does meet up with Marva, gives her the book, and he's like, "Look, by the way, if you ever threaten my friends or anyone this way again, I'm going to completely obliterate you. Every ounce of power I have, every being part of me is going to destroy you.
Yeah.
So this is your one chance. You never again.
Get out of the series.
If
Yeah.
if I ever think I see you again, I'm calling in all my chits, and you will wish you were actually dead.
Yeah."
See, we did a good job that time because we had Keith quickly summarize it, and then we just did the whole thing anyway.
Yeah.
It was still much faster. But there's some pretty big. I mean, the things about Sheila's pretty
That
big.
is twice as eventful of a book, and we did it in half the time.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
you know.
I mean, the first book should have been that short, but 7 is quintessential ridiculous.
All right, book 8.
Book
Eight.
8.
But things are getting good. He's got a shield in his head.
guilty. You want to do the quick summary that leaves all the important stuff, and then we'll go back.
Once you lay it in, you don't have to do it in order anymore.
Yeah.
Is the point. And so you can skip over the stuff that doesn't matter. Where are we? So it's.
Do you want me to cover this one, or you got it?
It's my turn.
All right,
Nathan's
Nathan,
got
lay it on us.
All right, now you can do it. No, here's the quick summary: is that
Yeah,
like
I can quick summarize this.
stuff happens, and then there's like monsters, and it's at a horror festival. The end.
Okay. Quick,
Wow.
quick summary. The book is about Harry helping Molly, who is Michael's daughter. Molly, as it turns out, is a warlock, which is a wizard that's not obeying the laws of magic. She has mind-fucked several of her friends in what she thought were very good causes. And
to make them get over a heroin addiction. Getting over heroin addiction.
basically both of them were heroin addicted.
One was pregnant. And she
One was pregnant, but anyway, so mind fucks her friends.
Well, she thinks that she's helping. I mean, that's the thing is she's cleaning. She is literally washing their brains, and it doesn't occur to her that washing their brains is brainwashing them.
Well, it doesn't realize she's using bleach.
Right, that's the thing. It's like, oh, well, I'll just get rid of this heroin addiction over here and then set the whole room on fire. That's not good.
And then the mystery backdrop, because obviously the Molly thing is like the side thing here, is there's a horror convention going on, and someone is basically animating movie monsters and using them to terrorize and kill people.
Well, it's part of the side effect of what Molly was doing, which kind of opens.
Well, that
the
ends
gate.
up being
It opens up the gate
answer.
for these things to get through.
But someone is still directing the fact that it's happening.
The plot of this book is one of the most difficult to understand
Yes.
There's the-
as you are reading it. Every time I come back to this book, I forget who is the ultimate villain because it is honestly never explained.
You
don't know.
You don't know. It's true. Also,
a secret.
the previous book, one thing we forgot to mention is someone tries to run Harry over, and you never find out who it is.
Yeah.
Early in the book, someone just tries to kill Harry, and they just move on. It's like, oh, by the way,
That hasn't been called back to yet, as far as I know.
Yeah, just
no.
somebody in a car tries to
I
run
thought
him
it
down.
was explained that it was liver
no,
spots.
he did something. That was a different
He's
attack.
dead.
There was one.
No, in the last book.
There was one attack on Harry that's never explained by a car.
Oh, is there?
There's a weird. When you reread them, yeah, it's the one.
There's just somebody in a car driving around. It could
Yeah,
have
no,
been
that-
liver spots, maybe, but it isn't.
Only
flat
if it was in that book.
It's
If it's
not
a later
like
book,
in the
then no.
That's in the
showdown,
next
liver
book.
spots goes, and I tried to run you down. You know, you can make that assumption.
Or it could be a future book. I could be
It could be.
misremembering.
It's in the next book
Yeah.
because he gets hit by the car and then he looks up and he sees the terrifying
Yeah.
thing. And he-
The other-
yeah, it's in this book.
The other important thing that happens in this book before we get into the summaries is the reason that Harry is involved is he's been am I misremembering?
No, the
winter
book's
the winter thing?
Monsters are coming out and attacking people. They're being directed by somebody.
Yeah, that's different
The
one. That's
reason they're
different one.
coming out is, at least in part, because of Molly messing with her friend's brains.
Correct.
And then now that she's a wizard messing with people's brains, that's against the rules, so she gets in trouble with the White
She gets
Court.
kidnapped, gets sucked to the
White Council.
Yeah.
White Council, not the White Court.
Well, the
Sorry.
important thing is she gets kidnapped to the heart of winter as well.
Well, I figured we'd talk about that as a detail because
Yeah.
that is
well,
awesome.
I'm just saying she gets kidnapped and that's where the final encounter happens. And
Yes, the final encounter is Harry versus demon scare spirits in the heart of winter.
Because he finds out
To rescue Molly.
the terrifying entities are actually like monsters from Deep Winter.
Deep
Fae.
winter, yeah.
And he finds out. I think it's found the point. It comes down to the point that they were not originally. He expects that they had been summoned,
Correct.
and he tries to reflect them upon the summoner, which is how Molly gets captured.
Which is how
Because
you-
it turns
how
out
you
she
reflect them
was
on Molly.
sort of the summoner.
in that it was her fault that
But-
they were summoned.
It was.
Yes.
It was. I think at the end of the book that he comes to the conclusion ultimately that they were sent.
Yes.
well, because it's
But
But he's
somebody-
not sure by who.
There's a
Somebody
big-
from it's Maeve.
it's
That's
it's Mab.
It's Maeve.
I thought it was Mab.
No, it's the crazy.
Mab is the
Yeah.
young one. Maeve is the...
Well, the
no.
whole
Mab is the queen.
it
They're
was-
both queens.
The big thing was because the whole there's a huge subplot where because the way the vampires were attacking things and the way the White Court was doing things, they thought that because the vampires they thought they were going to
Yeah,
get the support
ultimate
of
summoner
winter.
was the Black Council, is what you're getting wrong, not Maeve or Mab.
But Maeve is
the
under their
the
influence.
council needed to use the Never Never for some help, and they
Yeah.
needed the White Courts. They needed to get the approval from Winter, and there were some problems going on, and basically there was a big front of the words.
Yeah.
That's actually
all
not this. I thought that was this one too.
No.
That's not this one.
In this book, there's a big thing between winter and summer going on, and
As always.
As always.
And when they're in the heart of winter, basically when he's in the heart of winter, he uses Hellfire in the heart of
Yeah.
winter, which summons basically all
the
of
winter
winter
fact,
back.
yeah.
Which because they couldn't use summer had to defend their borders because summer wanted to help summer needed to help out the council,
Right.
but because winter was being aggressive against them, they couldn't. So when all of winter got pulled back, Mab triggered that because Mab wanted to help, but she couldn't be direct. So she orchestrated some of the shenanigans. So then all of winter goes back. Summer is able to help the council.
It was because he
in a big-
used Summer's fire. At the
Sorry,
time.
Summer's fire, not
Summer's
Hellfire.
fire.
Hellfire had already been employed
Yeah.
there when they got there.
By someone else.
But yeah, because he does unleash, he unleashes summer.
Summer's fire.
And
Yep.
because of this confusion, I would actually, because none of us are perfectly recalling, I don't think, what happened.
I'm
near the
pretty
end of
sure
that book.
Mab was part of the orchestra or part of it because he was upset with her. I'm pretty sure it was Mab.
Because it was Black Council and they worked through Maeve.
Well, but the
Dresden
Black
and
Council-
McCoy compare notes on the recent happenings at the end. They agree there's a new group orchestrating events from a safe distance. Dresden refers to them as a group of unknown individuals as the Black Council.
Right.
Which yes, they did the initial attack on the Heart of Winter.
But he says that the evil creatures were sent through and only one of the queens could send them.
Yes, and those were okay. So the phobophages were sent by Mab.
Maeve. Mab would
Mab
not
is-
do that.
yeah.
Mab is in her right mind.
Right.
Maeve is under the control of the Black Council.
But I think
But
it's Mab.
no, it is
Mab
Mab.
needed
Mab-
to pull her troops off the border.
Mab is not crazy. Mab is working with Titania, but she's being undermined by Maeve, and the only way she can get her troops pulled back is to send the phobophages and get Harry to go fuck with Winter.
Yes. that
So
is
she
correct.
used the phobophages
To lure
to
Harry
lure
in.
him. She was like, "Oh, look how evil I am! You better attack me! Oh no, I need to pull my troops back! Darn!"
Yes.
Yes.
I am correct on this. I will bet his car and
It's a
$5.
Mini Cooper. I don't want it.
and to make the bet appealing $5.
Yeah, I would agree that I think it was Mab that sent them because it was the only way she could out. And because she can't just sit down and talk with Titania because she can't.
Because when they pulled the borders back, I forget exactly what Summer needed to do, but Summer was a big help suddenly for what had to happen, and then
Summer let the White Council
go back through their passage.
go back through the passageway to backdoor the.
But
But
that's the
thing
big
is, like,
conclusion.
we
of
can
the
have this conversation because it isn't like the book doesn't end with one of the two of them going, and I sent everything. Yeah. And so there is some nebulousness about
There
it.
is. There definitely is.
And I would actually
it would
argue-
make his theory makes sense because if anybody was doing it actually to be evil and send
It would be
monsters
Maeve.
out of evilness, it was definitely Maeve.
Because he even
Maeve.
sees Mab in the
But if-
background because she's like, you know.
But Mab winks at him.
Yeah.
Maeve would do it on purpose to be evil. Mab would do it as part of this whole
Master plan.
subtle scheme to get an excuse to be good while, overtly being evil, but actually secretly being good.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
it
actually-
depends which you think is more likely.
Yeah. And I don't care for this book because of this. It's his first time he really tries to introduce overt elements of this new greater plot with the Black Council.
Correct.
And I feel like it was done poorly in that the plot itself does not make a great deal of sense.
I
the one where when he's in
find
winter,
Until
he
you've
finds
read like
his-
4 more books.
his
Frozen
grandmother,
godmother.
he goes into the winter court artist tour.
Yeah, finds his godmother being tortured.
There's a lot of people being frozen in place. His godmother's one of them. He's like, what's going on here? The place was attacked. All these people are frozen. My godmother's frozen in place. Weird shit's happening. Okay, let's go. It's a very weird. I agree that this is a poor book in regards to the overall story, but it has great moments, which makes me not dislike it too much because. The stuff at SplatterCon's amazing. They're being attacked by these, like, if people envision, one guy's being attacked by aliens because they're watching an aliens movie. There's all these
Right.
scarecrow creatures attacking people.
It is
the cop
amusing
who's
to
on
have
duty is
him-
pretty cool.
Like the descriptions of the monsters dodging around what they definitely actually are
Are.
copyrighted.
Yeah.
So that's really good. There's the entire his interact because this is the first time he's met Michael since book 5 because he's kind of ashamed that he hasn't got rid of this demon. So Michael offers him his hand, and there's a scene where he's like, well, I don't want to shake his hand because, he might discover it, but, he's my friend. I'm going to shake his hand. What happens. He's like, and
then nothing
happens. And then Michael goes out of town because he always gets, like, these magical summons, like, the SOS, And then the whole end sequence is great because they deal with the shit. And Dresden's like, look, Molly, you have a choice. You weren't trying to be a warlock on purpose, but shit's happened. And also, you learn a lot more about her mom because you learn about Charity because Charity actually helps
Charity, this is the first book where I'm like, instead of Charity being a kind of a two-dimensional, Harry doesn't like her and Michael likes Harry, and it's just this thing, to like, Charity is actually a really cool
She's
character.
not just the nagging wife of his
Yeah.
best friend that hates him.
Yeah.
She's actually a really cool character.
But then otherwise, the whole final, the real final
kind of a
thing to me
badass.
is he's like, we have to. I'm calling the council. We're gonna put you in front of you. I'm gonna step up for you. They might decide to chop your head off. If they do, I'll help you. But
Yeah.
I'll probably
They'll kill
die.
me too, but
Yeah.
we're both going to die.
Or you can run right now. I'll help. I won't tell anyone. I'll wait a minute to tell them that
But then they're definitely hunting you down.
yeah. But those are your options.
You will
She's
spend
like,
the rest of your life running.
yeah. So she says, let's go to the council.
Yep.
He summons the council, and
Yep.
there's some of the council like Harry, some of them don't. And of course, the people who show up is like Merlin, who hates him, who
has
he's a-
like 8 votes right
8
now.
votes. So he's like, well, fuck. And then Harry does some cool diplomatic things. He actually invited the summer envoy there, and Summer actually gives him like a reward for helping. He's like,
A little badge.
Here's your
A loose
badge.
badge.
And they give Morgan a badge because Morgan almost kills the leader of the Red Court in this
Yeah.
book in the back. It's all in the background, but he gets like 5 feet from or 20 feet from the Red Court, which is a big deal in the the background. But and then it turns right when Merlin's about to put the guilty vote, a portal opens and the gatekeeper and the rest of the council come through with Michael.
No, the gatekeeper is already there.
Oh, he's there.
The
The
gatekeeper's
reason-
there.
Yeah,
the
Merlin-
That's the thing, is
the
'cause the
gatekeeper says he
gatekeeper-
needs to think about his
Oh, yeah.
vote.
He does the greatest thing because it doesn't matter. Like, if the vote's 99-1,
Yeah.
the vote isn't over till everybody's cast their
Yeah.
vote. And so the gatekeeper's like, so you have literally enough votes. Well, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote. I need to think. And Merlin's like, your vote doesn't matter. He's like, yeah, well, I got to think.
I have a vote, and this is about a death of a person. This is important. I'm going to think about it.
Yeah. Blatantly just, I'm going to stall. Fingers, middle fingers, stall.
So a gate opens up, the rest of the council comes through, and Michael happens to come through with them, and they're like, and of course, Dred's like, well, what the fuck? Turns out Michael's mission just happened to be where the council was
like
being
saving
attacked.
their ass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because the council got fucked. They got attacked in one place. They went to a hospital. They got attacked in broad daylight with gas attacks. They lost a huge percentage of the council got killed that day.
Big problems.
So the rest of the council comes. They decide to vote to they put the
So now that the council's there,
Yeah.
instead of the Merlin having 8 votes, he has 1 vote again.
Because he had all the proxy votes.
Correct.
Yeah. So
And spoiler, when he doesn't have all the votes, they don't vote to kill the teenage girl.
Yeah. Well, normally they would, but Harry kind of guilts them into not. Harry does 100% admit that if I hadn't tweaked the Merlin's nose, I could have still maybe won, and that would have been less of the Merlin will hate me forever and always and try to crush me.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, politically outmaneuvering him and then like rubbing his face in it was probably not the wisest of
To be fair, he was so excited when he did it that he didn't realize almost immediately it was a terrible mistake, but he really enjoyed it.
It's like, and checkmate.
Worst checkmate ever.
But then at the end, like, he's like, oh, you want to, so this guy just saved our ass and we're going to kill his daughter. And like Ebenezer's like, nope. And listens to Win.
It was like, nope.
And the gatekeeper's like, nah. And then in Ancient Mayan.
So Molly ends up being his apprentice instead.
Yep.
With the same Doom and Damocles that Harry starts the series with, which is a nice little, like...
Yeah, there's a nice thing. I think that's right away at the end of this book, right? With the whole water on the head.
Yup.
Yeah, because they go back to his place, and she's like, oh, well, you're my master now. I guess here's my boobs. We should do the sexing. And he's like, hold on one second. Then he just dumps water on her head. And he's just like, no.
Bad apprentice.
No.
It's like she was going to take a shower, and he's like, all right. And he went to the kitchen and poured like the huge glass
water.
of ice water and was like drinking a little of it and set the pitcher on the mantle. And she came out and she's like, do me. And he was just like,
I will always be smarter than you. Stop it.
I saw that coming.
But yeah, this is important. I think that only that top one really.
Yeah, just the top one.
Introduced characters. We glossed over Darby Crane.
Yep. So we meet a new flavor of White Court vampire in this one. Ones that feast upon terror.
Fear.
And he wasn't the one summoning the fear monsters, but he was the one running SplatterCon because obviously a horror convention's a great way for him to feed.
Right. So all of a sudden his little, buffet just turned into this super huge, like
He
all of a sudden
loves
it's
it.
real fear.
He's not upset about it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't his idea.
Real is Madrigal Wraith.
Madrigal
is the
Wraith.
real
And of course,
name
he
of
actually
this
there's
guy's.
this whole scene where he actually tries to kill Dresden. He
captures Dresden.
He runs Mouse and so Harry thinks Mouse is dead for a little
Oh,
while,
God.
which is a
I was
sad
so
moment.
angry.
Yeah, but when you hit Mouse with a car, it just hurts the car.
As
Yeah.
it turns out.
Well, you find, because as the series go, you realize Mouse is more and more powerful. And he doesn't start off super powerful. It's like,
He's like, oh, it's a cool dog. And like, he trained pretty easy. That
and
was
the
nice.
other element,
and Madrigal Wraith does try to sell Harry on eBay.
yeah, he does.
That's also worth mentioning.
Yeah, he does have this whole auction where he's trying to sell him on eBay. That is pretty. And their bids were going pretty
Bids
high.
are pretty high, too.
The important thing, not important, but a nice element is because Harry is so powerful, because every book he gets more powerful, and Molly's new, so he can kind of get that fresh person's perspective still coming in the book a little bit, because Harry by no means is blind to the world. And he's someone he can do exposition with pretty easily when new things happen.
It's also, well, I would say the exposition, it's handy to have a lot of his friends, as each of his friends becomes more and more into the world of the mythos, they need to have more people that can function as a Watson. Because there's no reason he'd need to explain to Thomas what a Black Court vampire is. But if you need to bring the readers up to speed, Molly can be like, what's a Black Court vampire, boss? And then he tells her, that's my Molly voice, I hope you liked it. Hot. Yeah, that's how I do my audiobooks. But so Watsons are always useful, and you bring them in, and so...
Yep. Yeah, overall, there are elements introduced in this book that were necessary and useful, but I think the plot, as an introduction to the greater villain, was clumsy.
Weak.
Yeah. It is among, now,
And Lachelle continues to do the,
she has
Tempting
constant
and-
conversations.
She's still throughout the we are deep in the middle of two ongoing plots and introducing a third. We're introducing the Black Council at the same time as we are still 7 books into a war with the Red Court.
Yep.
And we're, depending on how you count it, 2 or 4 books into him being possessed by a demon.
Right. And he uses her extensively
In this book.
There's also an important scene between him, because he's like, hey, Murphy, why don't we go out? And she's like, well, I would be up for something simple, and you're kind of guy who needs something serious, and I don't want something serious. So he's like, he gets a little sad this because, she won't date me because I
Yeah,
want
like
to.
she'd probably be down for a one-night stand, but,
But she knows that
that's
Harry
not
can't
his
do
thing.
that.
Yeah.
But so they kind of address it, and he kind of moves on. But it's that was a drag.
And we do introduce one more interesting cat's paw. So as Harry gets more and more powerful, they have to offset ways that he can be weakened and caught. So they introduce something called thorn manacles in this book, which come back in later books.
No, they're in book 5. He gets captured.
That's how-
Nicodemus.
that's how they had him.
They use him again.
Oh, okay. No, he's just in water with Nicodemus.
No, he has the Thor manacles on in book 5 as well.
Yeah. Whatever. Point is,
At any rate,
whether they come from, they're in
they're
this
magical.
book.
They're handcuffs that stop magic, which is the important thing.
And again, his hand's been crippled for a couple books. He
Yep.
does find out from one thing we forgot to mention at the end of last book. Waldo's like, I've been doing some research, boss, and it turns out because you're a wizard, you kind of regenerate more. That's why when you get hit with a bat, most people would be crippled over time.
Forever,
You kind of bounce back.
That's also why wizards can live for hundreds of
Yeah.
years because it
so
also
he's like eventually, given enough time, you're probably going to regenerate that hand. Now it could take 50, a bunch of years, but it's going to come back. So you should be constantly, doing stuff. So he's always like trying to learn the guitar and doing. He's doing. It's minor details, but it's like he's no longer. He actually has some faith his hand's going to actually be usable because he's still going book to book with basically one hand.
One thing I do like, and this book isn't the book where they really say it. It's a later book, but you talk about him getting more and more powerful. There's one of my favorite little moments in a later book when they mentioned, like, somebody, I forget which character, just flat out says to him, because he never catches on to it because he's just a dim moron, but they said, everybody's really terrified of you because you're super powerful and can explode things, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I guess so. Like, he's so used to being up against all these big things. Like, there's one of the books where he's like walking around and everyone's just like, it's like when Mongo comes into town in Blazing Saddles, just when he's going down the street, and he just doesn't notice that people are fleeing and hiding in closets because the all-powerful Harry Dresden. And so it's nice to have a series admit that their hero, you're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. He's getting really fucking strong. He's scary.
Yeah, he has Hellfire and a demon sigil. He talks to himself.
Yeah,
like kind of terrifying.
Yeah, I think the realization was in Deadbeat at the store when the guy was like, "Don't come here anymore, please."
But even more, that's
well, he thinks back
that's
after he finds out who Sheila is.
There's later where he's in like a very, very supernatural place, like the bar, whatever. Yeah. And they're just like, you're not the Harry Dresden from 8 books ago. You're not just a guy.
It's the next book that comes.
Okay, well then that's fine. So go ahead a little, but it's cool that they point that out. That he doesn't just find excuses to have him fight. Butcher now. He doesn't just find excuses to have him fight stronger things to make sure he's always the underdog, which you have to do as your characters get more powerful. I mean, run any D&D campaign as they get stronger, you give them stronger villains. But it was nice to stop and say, okay, look, you're level 17 now. All these people around you are still level 3 or 4. You are a big deal. And I like that.
And this is the book where the cast of characters is, to my mind, sort of completed. Like with the addition of Molly, he's now got the brother, the dog, and the apprentice.
Yep.
And I like all of their interactions.
Yes.
So going forward for the next few books, until spoilers, it all kind of breaks down.
Yeah.
These are some of the rest of my favorites, sort of.
Yeah.
From this
So
point
the
moving
next
forward.
the next book is called White Knight.
This is sort of a continuation of the Mabs, you owe me 3 favors.
Nope, that's book 10.
It's actually book 10, believe it or not.
This book starts off, Harry's like, hey, Griffin calls him down, it's a suicide.
Oh, right.
Practitioners are getting murdered, or they
are committing suicide.
Are committing suicide.
Massive
So
air
the
quotes.
big-
Massive air
I'll
quotes.
try to do a key summary.
Oh, dear God.
So that's the book. Practitioners are being killed. The cops think it's suicide because they do die in a very, but it's
They're very obviously suicides.
But of
quote
course, the
unquote.
magical world, no, it's not suicide because of conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the magical world, even if it is literally suicide, it doesn't mean somebody didn't make you do it.
But
I mean, I can just go booga-booga and jump out that window.
happens to is wearing a gray cloak. So the whole city, half the city thinks it's Harry Dresden doing it. Because wherever he goes, people are like, it's a killer or whatnot.
Because the warden cloak is gray.
Yeah, exactly. Gray, well, tall and gray.
Yeah, tall and gray.
And then, of course, he thinks it's Thomas at one point because all this evidence keeps pointing. Everyone keeps thinking, well, it's probably Thomas because it's women vanishing and killing themselves.
Yeah.
And so that develops on. Then it turns out it's actually inner ploy. There's other factions of the White Court are trying to take over control. It's 2 of the other houses, including the guy who was in our last book, teaming up. Also, Cowl's involved, so you get the return of Cowl.
What? I thought he was dead.
He was dead. What's interesting is that there's between the last books, Dresden spent time off-site taking care of these training new recruits.
Yep.
And he talks about how all these terrible things happened out there. A bunch of kids died to ghouls. As a little side note. But anyway, so the story advances. We realize it's a big internal power struggle in the White Court. Harry and Rodriguez just burst in the White Court, and they realize the 2 main people behind it.
Ramirez, not Ramirez.
Ramirez. They challenge the bad guys to a duel. They fight it out. They win the duel, and then the Cowl just drops in kabillion ghouls to kill everybody.
The mega ghouls.
The mega
They
ghouls
are
come
mega
in.
ghouls.
And then, oddly enough, of all people who come rescue everyone is Marcone, because Butcher made a deal with Marcone. It's like, you help me.
Dresden made a deal with Marcone.
Dresden made it. He's like, you come help me, I will help get you. Because Marcone wanted to join the Accords and wanted power. So he's basically the Baron of Chicago in the book ends.
Yeah, the only non-supernatural member of the Accords.
Yeah.
Like the only just flat-out human ever. Not just currently, like ever. There's
And
never
one
just
of-
been like, I'm a person.
And one of like a handful of single entities that have signed on.
Correct.
Him, the Archive,
Monarch Securities.
Monarchs, and Vlad Dracul.
Yeah.
Are like the four like single people.
And it is brought out that Kincaid worked for Vlad. That was,
Yeah.
That was Papa, not the wimpy
Yeah.
son.
Yeah. Not wimpy Dracula.
Not boring, crappy Dracula.
Yeah, his dad.
His scary
the,
dad.
the serious one. But yeah, so that's basically the book. Also, a returning character is Elaine. Jim's, or not Jim, but
You keep doing that.
hey, it's the
Harry.
same. He's the same guy. In my mind, he is him.
This is, I'm telling my funny anecdote on air for this because this is for people who have read these. You have not heard this, I don't think. Is that when I was loaned these books, I read through them and I got to this one and I mentioned something. At which point, the person loaning me the books realized that they had forgotten to loan me one of the books. Because this is the second time Elaine comes back. She comes back in a previous book. That book had not been loaned to me.
You missed Summer Night.
So I missed Summer Night. So I was reading this book, and his girlfriend, who he supposedly murdered years ago, just shows up, and Dresden's just like, oh, hi. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, hi? Like, I would think your reaction would be a little stronger. So then I finished the book, I'm like, yeah, it's really weird. And the guy, and the buddy is just like, oh, yeah, you should read this book. This was like book 4. Sorry. So that was a weird moment for me.
Yeah. Being like, Elaine, oh my God. And he's like,
What will
oh.
Dresden's reaction be? Hey,
like-
what's up?
He's like, oh, how's Seattle been? It's kind of a dick move to be hiding instead of like coming out and being like, how's it going?
She moves to the coast and opens up a PI firm
PI shop.
across, you know. 'cause
And then it was like, and it was Warden Ramirez who gave her a test to see to test her aptitude to see if she was White Council material, and she just threw the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
She didn't want it.
I'm just a
he
little
wasn't- he
under the
wasn't
radar
He
wizard.
wasn't sure of her because she wouldn't date him. That was Ramirez's big. Because he is what you call a ladies' man.
And this book has my favorite
Ramirez moment. I mean, come on. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's interesting because Murphy tips Harry off to the suicides, which he does some deeper investigation and finds out that there's like Bible verses about witch killings going on here. And the overall plot is the White Court, subversive elements of the White Court, probably egged on by the Black Council, have decided to show their more overt power by their ability to just go and kill magic users. That they can just go out and kill these enemies of theirs and enemies of and like, we can just win this war. Like, look how awesome we are.
Yep.
And undermine Wraith, Laura's position. Well, Lord Wraith's position.
Lord Wraith. Air quotes.
That the Cold War is sort of the way to go.
Yeah.
So it's an attempt by I believe the Black Council to undermine the current leadership of the White Court
It's definitely Cowell, who's probably on the Black Council.
in order to move the war more against the White Council aggressively.
Yeah.
And it turns out Thomas's big deal is he actually found out, and because Thomas was part of the White Court, he couldn't tell Harry about it, so he's been trying to save women on the sly.
Yeah. He was like, we need to tell Harry, and Lara was like, you cannot tell Harry what's going on at all. And he's like, all right, so I just won't talk to him, and then he'll get curious.
He'll get curious and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'll leave really obvious clues about what I've been doing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Thomas might be kidnapping women. Well, Thomas can't be kidnapping with these women. He's a good guy. And then, oh, no, he's totally kidnapping women.
Yeah, he breaks
because
in-
he's saving them.
He breaks into Thomas's house, and Thomas has like a war room full of like assault rifles and pictures of all the missing women. And Harry's like, "Fuck."
Thomas's boat is called the Water Beetle.
Yep, the water beetle. I do like the water
Sweet,
beetle.
sweet water beetle.
Yeah.
But
And Harry's his gay lover.
it's less characterful than the Blue Beetle, which
Yes.
is partially blue and mostly a beetle.
And it turns out that one of the women that's among the local group of low-level practitioners is actually one of the White Court vampires in drag.
Yes.
is the one of the main villains of this. It's Madrigal, who we
Yep,
found from the
from
previous
last book.
book, and then this
Vittorio Malvora.
Malvora.
And
Because
also,
those are the three houses are Wraith, Malvora, and Madrigal.
No, Madrigal is a wraith.
Madrigal's a wraith.
It's
His name is Magical Wraith.
Oh, you're right.
Sco something or other.
yeah, the
Starts with it.
Scolvis.
Scavis.
The big thing is
Scamus.
one of the
Scorvus.
characters is a returning character from book one. One of the wife of one of the guys who was in the very first book that was summoning the curse was she was trying to
yeah,
rebuild.
Helen Beckett.
She was trying to become a better person because she was
She was just making friends.
but she also works for Marcone, which is the interesting.
Yeah, she's
twist.
Marcone's like Gal Friday.
Yeah, that was a great. That's just a moment that I love when he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go rough up one of Marcone's places for information," and he gets to the door and they're like, "Oh, hello, Mr. Dresden. Can we get you anything? Like, here's everything you could possibly want." And he's like, "Why at the beginning?"
Yeah.
And later he talks and there's like, "Yeah, it was just a standing order at any of our buildings to just be nice to you so you don't burn it down."
Well, in that particular building is like a 5-star whorehouse.
Yeah.
Is the best part. Disguised as a fitness center.
Yeah.
That's not a fitness center?
Hey, those personal
Oh, my
trainers,
goodness.
those personal trainers just go the extra mile.
They do go the extra mile.
Yeah.
At least the extra 3 inches.
But yeah, that's how smart Marcone is. He's like, oh, Dresden, the people are going to talk eventually. I'll just save myself the headache and the money and just tell, Because anything he doesn't want anything he doesn't want Dresden to know, the low-level people at those locations wouldn't know
Don't know
anyway.
anyway, yeah.
Like, if those people know that Guy A is doing plot B, there's no reason not to just tell Harry. Because if Harry shouldn't have known, they wouldn't have known.
And Marcone says this in a later book, but he's basically like, I'm never going to work against you. The way your lifestyle, you're going to get yourself killed. I'm never going to help with that because you're going to do it yourself. So I'm in no way ever going to try to kill you.
I don't need to work against you.
And I will happily point you at my enemies.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'll happily let you deal with most of these problems because, by and large, when you deal with these, they end up dead. And Harry's like, but that's not.
That's kind of true.
Yeah.
Well, even in this
It's not how I mean it to happen. And Marcone's like, I don't really give a shit how you mean it to happen. I'm just confident in the success rate.
Cause effect. Get it?
Well, even Marcone does good things occasionally, which just pisses off Harry because Harry wants to hate him so much. Like in the end of this book, in the big showdown, they open up a portal and Marcone and his goons come in and they're fighting all the ghouls because it's ghoul fucking parts, hundreds of
just a
ghouls
mess,
coming at him, and they're getting everyone through the portal. And initially, Marcone said, "I'll come and I'll save you and your friend." Ramirez.
Yeah, Ramirez.
But Harry's like, well, fuck that. There's all these because White Court has all these slaves. Where every single person is being saved right now, and Marcone's like, I don't want to save it. Well, they're innocent people. He's like, well, fuck. I guess I'll help. He doesn't. He's like, well, fine, we'll do that. And Dresden's like, well, damn it, you're supposed to argue more, so I can hate you, and you didn't really argue, so you're a dick.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting. It's a very simple. In many ways, it's a simple book. The big takeaway is they set up what's called the Paranet. All the supernatural community, the low-level abilities, kind of set up this like communication system. So this kind of thing can't happen again. So if there's disappearances, people will have like this communication because they can use the internet, they can use cell phones. They have such a low power that they don't have the disability of technology that
At least just a
has.
phone tree.
Yeah.
It's basically a fancy phone tree.
Well, it's the the Sherlock Holmes, the irregulars,
irregulars,
he gets the information net of all the low level people,
and
that's the third most important thing that happens.
I'll say one thing about Lash is obviously one thing that he starts doing in the last couple of books is he has named the thing in his head Lash because Lash is really an imprint of Lashiel. She's not the full power, which he mentions like the previous book. She's just a shadow of the former self. And she's like, well, you pick up the coin, you get the full power. It's not just my limited ability, and that's his big thing. But he's like, he keeps calling, and by this book, she actually has to believe she's actually a personality. She's not just
He humanizes her.
He comes to the
The
conclusion.
entity in her head is not the demon Lashiel in his head. It is the person Lash, who that's how she came to be, but it's not the same thing anymore.
And he comes to the conclusion that because she exists only as a part of him, she must be at least as malleable as he is. Which, to be fair, is not very malleable, but it is somewhat malleable.
more malleable than the coin itself.
Glass is technically a liquid. Like,
Yeah.
there's malleability there if you're willing to work with it.
And much more so than the immortal fallen angel.
Yeah,
correct.
And the villains are using a lot of psychic attacks, which is a big deal because in the end they knock people. They basically knock you on the ground with their mind and just start blasting you with their mind bullets.
Yeah.
That's telekinesis, Kyle.
Yeah.
It actually isn't.
So there's a big thing at the end where he's basically being taken down, and she's like, take up the coin or you're going to die.
Yep.
It's basically that simple.
Literally, it's that simple. It is literally that
you
simple.
take the power of the coin or you die
Right now.
Right now.
I pause time. Normally, you would have a split second to make this decision. I'm going to give you 10.
Yeah. And then he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. So she's like, well, fine. So then the thing happens. Suddenly he can get up and he realizes that she basically, the entity of Lash, took the mental blast completely, obliterated her completely from his brain.
Yep.
He was able to get up and just function. When we left one important detail off from the last book, I just realized the last book ended with Michael. Because he told Michael that he had the coin.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael's like, I knew the whole time. I saw you pick it up. He's like, because he was so ashamed of himself. He's like, well, why didn't you say anything? He's like,
Why did you kill me?
Because I figured you'd do the right thing, and if you went bad, I'd kill you then.
Yeah, I'll kill you.
like,
When you
oh.
actually go bad, I'll know, and I'll kill you. And I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he's
he-
like, you need to give up the coin, and the only way to do that is to give up your magic. And Harry's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I actually wrote that down. He said, go fuck yourself. It's amazing. Yeah. So, in this book, but because Lash is wiped from his brain, he's actually able to get the coin back because he lost all connection to the coin when Lash sacrificed
The
himself.
sigil disappeared from his hand,
Yep.
which he's kind of able to use now.
His hand is, every book, he's getting more and more.
Okay, so Lash has been helping him learn to play guitar.
Yeah.
Were you going to tell this part? Because I feel like it's poignant.
This
like,
was Lash sacrificing herself to save Dresden was the second most important thing to happen in that fight. The most important thing was Warden Ramirez being amazing.
you were getting his ass kicked.
No, excuse you. He gets knifed in the leg.
Yes.
All right, and then he's stumbling around. His fingers like pretend guns, like a
Yes.
kid playing Cowboys and Indians, shooting things, and he's going, "Oh, it hurts! It hurts! It hurts to be this good!" Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, if you were real, I would be gay for you in a nanosecond.
Well, then, like 5 minutes later, he's like, when the fuck did I get a knife in my leg? He's all like, what the fuck did that happen? I don't have time for this shit.
Yeah, whatever.
I agree with Jeremy about the bit about the guitar being poignant. So
Yeah,
I'll
you
let
can
you
get to that.
I'll let
You
you
can go to
finish.
that.
I'll
So-
let you finish it. But Butters suggests to Harry that he play guitar to help
keep
with
the
his
hand,
hand.
yeah. Yep.
And Lash is like, I can make you play guitar, no problem. He's like, no, I want to do it myself.
Yeah. So she like, and at one point in this book, he's like playing, and he's like playing like surprisingly well, like really, really well. And he's like, what was that? What'd you do? I told you not to mind fuck me and make me play guitar. And she's like, no, I didn't. I helped. I like took away the distractions. I gave you the like.
She like reduced the pain
reduced
a little
the pain.
bit.
I
but
gave you the
threats was
maneuverability,
him.
but it was all you. And he was like, "That's amazing." And he's like, "Maybe you're not so bad after all, Lash." But then at the very end of the book, he finds out. Bob explains to him what Lash did. That she's now dead because she took the mind bullet for him. And he's like, "So I'm missing my brain." He's like, "It'll grow back." No, I'm missing part of my soul. And he's like, it'll grow back. It just does. That's how souls work. And Harry's like, okay. So he
They're
goes
like
up-
livers, you want the whole one, but if you have to give up a chunk, it'll grow back
It'll grow
eventually.
back. So he goes up to play guitar, and he's sitting there playing guitar. Not amazing like he did with Lash earlier in the book, but better than he could normally play on his own. And he like hears like just like the shadow of Lash in his head, and he just starts crying
And puts the guitar away.
and puts the guitar away forever and never plays it again. And I was just like I read this book, and like I had other books from the Harry Dresden series at the time when I read this one, and I shit you not, I put the book down, I cried a little bit, and I went to bed. I was just like, "Fuck you, Butcher! Fuck you!"
Don't say "fuck you, Butcher." We want him to like us.
I was
We
so.
mean that in a loving way.
I don't want to
Jim.
spoil. Book 15 pretty much brought tears to me.
Yeah,
but
like,
that's
different.
That's not for a couple months. We go over the last 5.
But like
book 15,
and I'm not saying it
Book
was
12.
15 was the one that hit me the most. Book 12 is amazing. At many
that
levels.
moment. Like I love this whole series. I
Yeah.
really do. That moment in this book hit me harder than anything else in the whole series.
Well, because I mean, obviously,
really
number
good.
one, when you talk about emotions to a character, number one, oh, you're not a real person. Well, screw you. Fiction
you.
is powerful. My dad dies, I cry. A fictional character dies, I can cry as well. The emotion is part of of art. Okay.
Well, and
But
you read this character over years of years
Right.
of years. It's,
Years and
you-
years. I
you're
mean, we
attached.
glossed over it in, hopefully not 4 hours, but we glossed over it. But the point is that he had this relationship with Lash for 4 books,
Yeah.
which took years because the books come out, not every other Tuesday. But even within the mythos, this shows how well written this was, is that even within the mythos, Lash doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's not a person. You know,
It's a shadow of an evil being.
It's this, you know, part of Harry's personality. Maybe it's not even a separate shadow. Maybe it's just his own voice in his head, like we have our own voices in our head that he thinks is a thing, because you don't even know fully what it is, you know, but it's something, and the writing gave it enough humanity and personality that you're that devastated when it dies, even though it was never actually alive.
Yeah, I mean, in book 5, Shiro dies, and it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it hit me.
And he's a good guy, and you're
he's a
sad
good guy.
Shiro
I was
died.
sad, but it was not like Lash was legitimately like. There's a lot of characters in this series I like, and there are some really hard fights for like best character. But the story arc of Lash across those 4 books might be one of the best character arcs I've ever like read for a non-main character. Like, she's not even like a sidekick. She's like a side character, and it's just an amazing
He turns
arc.
multiple side characters. That's what makes these books good. Is side characters develop into people so well in their arcs and their development.
It's the exact opposite of Patrick Rothfuss.
There's a book. I can't think of another author. He wrote. Glenn Cook has a book series of. It's a medieval detective. And I read 8 books in, and after 8 books, I realized none of the characters developed at all, and I was just out.
Yeah.
They're all the same
That
person
is not a
after
problem
8
in
books.
Dresden.
Anyway, without sidetracking ourselves, and I think
Sorry.
in the next book or the book after, he talks again. Like he talks to somebody. It might be Butters about, or maybe Murphy about Lash. Like, he finally opens up about what happened, and they're like, "No wonder you're devastated. Like, you're one of the most you attach to things harder than anyone I've ever met."
It is the next. He does,
and it was like a friend who died for you, but not even like a friend that. Yeah, it was someone literally that lived in your head who
and
died.
you can have no more intimate relationship. Like, this is beyond a sibling or a wife or anything like that dying. This was in you, a part of you. Like, you can't get closer than that.
Yeah. So anyway, so that hit me like, oh my god, it wrecked me.
I like this book. This book did everything this book succeeded in almost every way I felt the previous book failed. In that its plot was part of a grander scheme that gave you something to think about, and some things were unexplained. Like Cowell's, his part in this is not entirely clear.
You still don't know what Cowell, because Cowell does claim to be even kind of fight, because he's hinted that there's another force out there that he's fighting against. Like, he's kind of like Nicodemus, where he's claiming that he's fighting
super
the
powerful.
He's claiming that he works for the greater good.
Yes, he claims that if he had become a god back in Deadbeat, it would have been better for everyone.
Sure. I will say one thing, another just like an example of Dresden-ness that I don't want to skip out of this, was that the way they survive the final fight, like the ultimate survival of the final fight, is by making a shield from his shield bracelet that fills the entrance to the cave, so that when the explosive pressure builds up behind them, he's shot out of it like a potato gun.
Yeah, he built himself a bouncy ball.
He built himself a bouncy ball, hid inside of it, and was shot out of the cave like a potato
and Laura.
cannon.
He powered,
Laura,
and then he
who's
powered the
like
bouncy ball.
dry humping him the whole time
power the bouncy ball.
To power the bouncy ball. Like, if I dry hump you, it'll be erotic, and that'll give me white court powers, so I can power your bouncy ball, so we can be shot out of the cave like a gun.
Magic comes from emotion, and he's like, "Well, lust is an emotion."
He's like, He's like, kiss me. She's like, okay. Because she doesn't even hesitate. She just does it immediately.
Well, for several books, she's been like, "Hey,
I want to
Harry,
eat you.
You let me eat you. I will make you more powerful."
And so now in
Make
this book,
happen.
he's like, "Eat me." She's like,
But then she finds out after she tries to eat him, she's like, "Oh God, you still with the love? God damn, man, get laid." and then she was like, "It's actually probably good that you haven't got laid, because I was just gonna kill you.
I was just gonna kill you.
because I thought we were gonna die anyway."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh,
well, you see, like Laura and her sisters are in fighting. Like the whole fight thing, like the description of those people fighting is just so
amazing.
fucking vicious, and it's so great.
Yeah.
It's like pull out kukris and dismember people." basically.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's beautiful.
It
right.
really is.
Book 10. So it's a great book, but
Hey, your favorite characters are in it again.
yes.
The good guys.
Every
The
5 books.
Every 5 books, the heroes are in it.
Just like the last book, you don't get Nicodemus to almost halfway through the book, though.
Yeah.
This book starts off kind of simple. Mab is like, I'm calling in a favor, because he owes Mab
It's small
3
favor.
favors.
He owes 3 favors. This is the first of the
He's like,
book is
"Marcone
called
is
Small
missing.
Favor.
Find him."
Go find Marcone. He's like, what the fuck did you just ask me? She's like, find Marcone.
and okay, and the thing with the 3 things that he owes her is he can always say no.
Yeah.
He's allowed to say no.
Although she basically
Totally allowed to say no.
totally.
He's allowed to say no. The word no can come out of his mouth. That is allowed.
Yes.
There might be repercussions.
Yeah, she basically mind fucks him
Every time.
into saying yes.
Favor number 2. This is favorite number 2.
Yeah, sorry, favorite 2.
It does start. The funny thing is, he starts off. The book starts off simply. He's hanging out with the Michaels. He's hanging out with the Carpenters, and he gets. It's like super
Snowball fight.
Yeah, snowball fight.
It's also winter in like not normal winter time in Chicago. And
But she doesn't catch on to you right away.
Yeah, he does not.
Well, it's
Yeah,
like
but-
6 feet deep in November. Or
Yeah, something
that.
like that.
This is
To
unusual.
simplify it, to go back, we'll try. He gets attacked by with the winter by was it somewhere?
He gets by satyrs.
By
And he
satyrs.
gets attacked
We
by
don't know
goatmen.
where they're from.
the brothers Gruff.
Yes.
Are basically attacking him. Like little
Billy Goats Gruff.
Little Billy Goats start attacking him. And
Oh,
he's like,
Bob makes fun of him.
and Bob, everyone makes because he gets 2 black eyes, and the first thing that happens is he gets 2 black eyes in like the first chapter.
Yep.
By the Billy Goats Gruff. So then he meets with Mab. She's like, "You got to go save Marcone."
If you've played Diablo, goatmen are not difficult to fight.
and everyone throughout the book proceeds to remind Harry of that fact.
everybody. But as soon as he defeats the guy, he defeats them like our
Charity Carpenter defeats.
charity.
Carpenter with a nail gun
Yeah.
defeats the Billy Goat.
That's
Iron
true.
is bad.
Because
for,
iron is bad.
But before they die, like our brother will come and avenge us.
She beats one, and then like our brother, like that's a running theme. As
Yeah.
with the goats gruff
Just
in the
like-
legend, is like our bigger, badder brother will be along next.
So he has to go find Marcone. He's not happy about this. He's like,
No.
well, fuck. And he gets, I forget who all helps him. I think obviously
Guard and
Guard.
Hendricks.
Well, he goes.
Yeah.
He finds out where their safe house is because first of all he's like, okay, Marcone's captured, and he's like,
He gets called into the safe house by Murphy because something magical went on. What is it? Come explain.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, basically, he
He gets called into the investigation of where Marcone has been captured by Murphy.
Yes.
He then goes to the brothel, and Beckett turns over the location of the safe house.
Yes.
Which he goes to there with Thomas.
Correct.
And picks up Guard and
Thomas's
Hendricks.
new SUV.
Yes.
brand new
SUV.
Then they promptly get attacked by...
It's like an H2 actually. I think
yeah,
it's like
They
a
promptly get attacked by 4 or 5 Denarians.
Denarians
Yes.
come into the battle.
New Denari. Some of them new Denarians we haven't met.
He's only met 6 of them in the past. 5
Correct.
to 6 he's fought.
Correct. And I forget the main one's name.
Tessa.
Tessa. Thank you.
They want him to like give
She's
up
Nicodemus's wife.
Yeah, the bug one.
The bug one. Yes.
The tiny
Mantis girl, as Harry
Mantis
calls
girl.
her.
Yeah. She's like, you know what? Just send out, the henchmen and God, and you can live. And he's like, yeah, I believe that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
So they get in a big fight. Shit happens. He defeats a couple of them, gathers some coins, and they escape.
Yep.
And then, of course, because there's an area, Michael's a big part of it. And so
Yep.
Sonia comes in.
Yep, Sonia, yep.
Great guys, of course.
Sonya's amazing.
So they
I love that he's a holy knight who's
God,
an
by the
atheist.
way, she was disemboweled. So
Yeah, it's
she's in a bed.
This is the point where Guard is literally she's just tucking her intestines in and gluing herself
With
shut.
airplane glue.
Just talking to Dresden. You know, it's like,
Dresden's like, can you stop doing that while we talk, please?
oh, intestines need to be inside glue.
Is this one after the short story with her?
I don't remember where the short stories take
I don't know
place.
where
The wiki
I have
breaks
trouble.
it down really nice.
It does, but
I think this is after their short stories.
I'll
So
see
they
if I
have a
can
little bit
double-check
more
what it is.
history.
So
at
the
this
next thing
point.
is, she says, he's like, I need to find Marcone. I know you have a copy of his blood because you're that kind of a person. She's like, no, you don't. Yes, you do. So
he's like, well, she's like, I took samples from Marcone, but he kept those, and I don't know where they are. And he's like, but you also have sets. And she's like,
she sends him to Union Station to get the shit. And meanwhile, he's like, we need to talk to Nicodemus. We need to set up a meeting, and then we need a neutral party. And they make a phone call, and
The short story has happened by now, by the way.
the Archive and Kincaid are going to come into town like in a day to set up a neutral meeting.
Yep.
But in the meantime, he's trying to gather more information. He goes to Union Station where the locker is. She's like, don't, when you open it, don't stand staring at it because, just don't.
just be standing to the side.
So him
when
and
you
Michael
open the door.
go there, and of course, they'll suddenly at the Union Station, all these creatures start attacking, minions of...
Magical darkness gets summoned, and they start getting attacked by
Magical darkness monsters.
And Michael's so cool. He brings out a sword. Of course, it lights up the whole area, and this awesome battle's happening. And then, of course, another Gruff comes and starts attacking Harry.
A
Well, to be
much bigger
fair,
Gruff.
This Gruff is like, an elephant size thing. Like he's basically almost on his hands and knees to get through the Union station. Like this thing's a giant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's fighting Harry. I think he opens up the he actually eats the locker, right?
That's how he defeats the Gruff, is with the locker.
He opens up the locker. Obviously,
He like
both
ices
of
the
them-
floor and tries to get him to fall over and a bunch of other stuff. But then eventually, Guard's lightning rune on the locker blows his
And he's like, man, I got to make me one of those.
And of course, this massive, giant, unstoppable behemoth just says, "Well, just you wait. My stronger brother will be come along soon enough."
My elder brother will destroy thee, wizard.
Yeah.
So he has more clues about where Marcone is, and then shit happens, and then
What was the? So he got attacked by
The
the.
darkness demons he defeats with the fire extinguisher. With
Yeah,
the fire.
yeah, he turns
Washes
on-
the darkness away with
Yeah,
water.
he
Yeah.
turns on all the fire extinguishers. Why were they sent? 'Cause
They
they're-
were sent in order to attack, because the train with Ivy had just arrived.
oh yeah, because while all that was going on, Ivy and Cocaine
Ivy,
just hop out of the
Kincaid,
train.
and Anastasia Lucia were coming into the... So the idea was to maybe kill Ivy.
Mab wanted to do that,
Or
or,
some-
yes.
it was a dark.
No,
council?
Mab wanted to kill Ivy. Think
Yes.
about it.
Yeah, it's probably true.
Because some
Potentially.
people want to capture Ivy, and if Ivy's dead, Ivy isn't captured.
Yeah, Mab just wants to take Ivy off the field.
Right.
Because Ivy's too valuable to let fall.
Well,
into
no one
people's
knows who
hands.
was recaptured. Well, not that it matters. But
We know, but the
yeah.
point is retroactively. Like Mab was going to kill Ivy to prevent Ivy from being captured.
Yeah.
Correct.
So they leave the station. They're about to have their meeting. At one point, I think before that, Murphy, because there's also another. I thought there's an encounter at McNeil's.
McNally's, yeah,
McNally's.
with Murphy and Dresden there, and Thomas.
Doesn't one of the brothers?
Yeah, that's you're missing the second of the Gruffs.
Yeah.
The second Gruff comes in, squeezes himself into McNally's.
like a 9 foot tall.
Yeah, like a 9 foot tall Gruff. And Murphy defeats that Gruff by explaining to him that Dresden is a member of the Chicago population. She is a cop, and he's welcome to kill Dresden, but then she will fuck up his world as a human police officer.
Right, because he tries to like do a one-on-one duel. He's
Yeah.
like, because it's neutral ground and
Yep.
they can't fight. So he comes in and says, "Hey,
Let's
come
do
on
it."
outside and let's
Yeah.
fight."
And I'll kill you.
Yeah, and I'll kill you.
And Murphy's like, that's fine, you can kill Dresden, but then I will fuck you up forever.
Isn't that the same one that gets him in the train? That
No,
comes
because
after
that,
him?
No, 'cause that's the bigger one.
Because he's just gone after that. He's like,
Yeah,
okay,
that,
fine.
that one's like, all right, fine, but my older brother's going to get you.
He was defeated through threat.
yeah,
like
Murphy out-talks him.
you don't have to kill him. You just have to beat him, and he was beaten.
Very well, but my elder brother.
Yeah, and the elder brother is the 20-foot tall behemoth in Union Station.
Gotcha.
So now there's a big meeting at the aquarium. Nicodemus, they're basically, they want to talk trade. Like, what can we give you so you will give us
Marcone
Marcone
back.
Yep.
They get there, and Nicodemus is like, before we get into this, I want to have my conditions is I want 5 minutes of chat with good old Dresden.
Yeah.
So they
My
go,
buddy.
my buddy. And Dresden's like, well, fuck you, but whatever. So they go to the side, and they're having this discussion. And one thing that Dresden says to him is like, why? He says, what does he say that triggers Nicodemus? Or
Well,
something-
it's Nicodemus just trying to give him the pitch, like, hey, wouldn't it be great to have a coin?
yeah.
Because they still think that Lash is.
Correct.
in
Yeah,
his
they still
head.
think Lash is
But
working.
he says something that shocks Nicodemus. Like, did you know one of your people did something? And I forget what exactly he says because Nicodemus didn't know.
He does.
Why was there hellfire in Octus Tor?
Oh,
Or, so you
Arcus Tour.
that's right.
And Nicodemus is like, wait a
He's like, because
second.
he saw Nicodemus like, be shocked. He's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
So then that's where Harry realizes some of them aren't all on the same.
They're not all
yeah.
playing by the same book.
Yeah.
And that seemed to upset Nicodemus
Yeah.
as there's a rogue element that he had not.
And
played.
not just a rogue element, but Harry kind of digs the knife. He's like, and I'm pretty sure they're just working for the Black Council and their patsies. Just so
Because
you know.
Nicodemus is like, you're probably right. Let's work together. Let's save the world with me, Nicodemus, the hero of the world. Dresden will be my sidekick.
You can be my sidekick.
And we'll destroy everything, and therefore it's saved.
And then Harry's like, wait, he knows this pitch doesn't work on me.
Yeah.
He's just stalling. Why is he stalling? Oh my god, I've screwed up terribly. I'm a predictable asshole, and I've called the archive here, who's actually who they wanted. They kidnapped Marcone so that I would bring the archive
Then
here.
they're gonna grab Kincaid, and because Ivy is just a little girl, and of course, because so she's like,
So
oh crap.
they've set up this giant anti-magic bubble around the aquarium to prevent the archive from just like either killing them all or leaving.
Yeah.
Which she could easily
Do
do
both.
under normal circumstances.
Yeah. And it's not like magic could still be used, but you only get the magic you brought with you, sort of a thing.
Right.
You can't generate any more.
Right.
So there's this big showdown. Kincaid is like in the
Amazing.
ceiling.
Kincaid murders like 8 Denarians.
Yeah. Their anti-magic bubble does nothing to high-powered, armor-piercing sniper rifle bullets going through their faces.
And he's just flying all over the roof. And Dresden's like, man,
amazing.
I can't have him capture Kincaid because she's a girl. And Kincaid is basically her, she's...
Yeah, because Ivy is hidden with a perfect stealth spell because Ivy's amazing.
Yeah, she's like, I realize what they're doing. My best defense, like, they can't keep this bubble up for very long, so I will simply hide until the bubble is gone, and then I will kill them all or leave.
Yeah.
And Kincaid had been hired for a reason.
Yeah, he's just
they do,
killing.
he's...
Harry did kill one of them on the way over there.
two?
Or
He
two,
got-
yeah.
yeah,
He
he
got a
got
couple.
two.
But I like that scene because... Again, I like the mercenary type characters in general, but
But he's just flying
Kincaid's
through ropes
just
up in
a,
the sea. Yeah.
as far as we know, he's just a person.
Yeah.
Like
He's an enhanced-
just a,
we know he's kind of enhanced.
he's better. I mean, it's kind of like Michael's enhanced because he's a holy warrior and stuff like that. But he's
fact,
still
Kincaid is
human.
more than that.
Kincaid is more than that, but it's not like But
He's half demon. It is strongly implied.
It is strongly
Yeah.
implied.
that he is the scion of a demon, which means
strongly implied. But the point is, he isn't throwing spells and stuff like that. He's just a really capable dude with a gun, and I'm always
Many
happy.
guns.
Many guns. But the point is, up until this point, he's been relatively not active in how much shooting he's done. Like, even when they fought Mavra in the basement, he's just a guy with a gun, and he shoots some stuff, and he's good at being a guy with a gun. This is the first time when he cranks it to full mode. This is like, let's see what he can do. And what he can do is kill a half dozen of the most powerful enemies that you've ever faced.
And these are
in,
basically
like,
the top
5
of the
minutes.
food chain.
Yeah, like
enemies.
the Denarians are like the strongest things, and he just like boom, 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 and Harry's like, I've killed like 2 ever, and I almost died so many times, and it's just really cool when you. It's kind of like in the Homer Simpson talk about when they're fighting the Yakuza on their front lawn, and the one little guy just doesn't do anything and he just stands there, and when he finally flips out, it's going to be fucking amazing. This is the fucking amazing flip out for Kincaid.
Yeah.
Oh, we did miss a major point from the previous book. After Harry has now the coin is gone, he doesn't have it anymore. He has a conversation with, which archangel? Uriel.
Oh, yes, Uriel. Oh, my God,
He
Uriel.
has a conversation with Uriel about how, or no, that's at the end
later.
of this book.
Yeah.
During this fight,
he
he uses power and he wants to grab hold of this Denarian who's
a mage.
crafting part of the spell.
Yeah.
And he tries to give it some extra oomph, probably from the same reflex that he drew on Hellfire. And the silver hand appears out of nowhere and just ragdolls the
Fucks up
Denarian.
the
And the
Denarian.
Denarian flips the fuck out. Like, how dare you use that power?
Yeah, how
And
dare
then
you use that power? You worm, blah, blah, blah.
You aren't worthy enough.
You aren't worthy to use that power.
And then he can't feel his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, he feels hand for a while.
So he's got something new. He doesn't know what it is yet.
Yes.
Spoiler alert, it's angel power.
Soul fire.
Soul fire.
Which literally uses his soul, which again
Literally.
he's concerned about, but Bob's like, it grows
Bob,
back.
Bob talks to me. Bob's like, it's
Don't
fine.
use it all
It's
at
like,
once.
oh, you're so concerned about your soul.
all the time. You and the soul.
Where, my immortal soul.
So that whole encounter, basically, Harry gets himself caught. Then he realizes, oh wait, I'm kind of like a friend to her too. So
I'm her only friend.
yeah, because he treats her like everyone treats her like the archive. He treats her like a little
person.
girl.
The archive
She
has
pets his
lots of
cats.
allies.
Yeah.
But allies aren't friends.
That
He's her only friend.
Something that Dresden comes out and says later in the books, explicitly says, but naming things is a powerful thing. And Harry doesn't call her the archive. He calls her Ivy. And that's a big thing.
Gave her her name.
He literally named her.
So he gets captured, and so she gives herself up. So she basically gets taken away. He, of course, is because he's just basically given.
Before she gives herself up, she has an amazing flip out moment.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes, because they hold him and she blows her because they're about to kill.
She's like, wait. No, fuck all of you.
It's like, stop that bullet, disable 5 of you.
Because basically they grab Harry, like okay, they say because he thinks they're gonna have a speech, and one of them just puts out a gun just to pull the
And just
trigger,
shoots him,
and
yeah.
she just stops it from happening.
She just ends a lot of Denarians.
So she unleashes all of her power, which of course breaks her stealth, that she can't use more power, so they overtake her. But she does have a moment of just like, this is why I'm the archive.
yes.
So now they have Marcone and the archive. But what Harry has is 19 of the coins or some enormous number.
Yeah, he has
ridiculously high number.
Yeah, he has over a dozen coins.
I think
Easily.
at one point Michael is like, there's only 6 of them left.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know your Bible, there's only 30
30 of them
total.
total.
Yeah. And they have
So they had 20. They have more than 20 of them.
And then they do the quick math.
The church has some, you know.
No,
so
well-
if there's only like 6 left, he probably has like 14,
there was-
15, and the church
he
has
knew
a
they
half
had
dozen.
6. There were 6 Denarians active, and they had 24. So they're like, well, wait, they can't get. Because he realizes they want to give Marcone a coin, but he's like, if I have 24 and there's 6, they don't have a spare coin right now. That's our one little.
That's our
edge.
in.
And they probably want to give Ivy a coin too. Holy fuck, that would be insane.
Yeah.
And she's a little girl. And last time they captured me and Shiro, they basically destroyed us, cut us up. I can't because Harry's he's fairly upset that a little girl is being captured
Yeah.
by the worst things in the world, and Nicodemus the hero of the story.
Right.
I mean, sometimes you gotta do.
Gotta break a few eggs.
You gotta break a few eggs.
A few million eggs.
So
That are humans.
He's obviously upset,
Yes.
and then he's like, I have an idea. He calls up Nicodemus because he has his personal number on a speed dial. They communicate through whatever method.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I'll give you all these back and the swords if you give me the girl.
Oh yeah, he offers them the Shiro's sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. One sword. The sword of the knight that's not currently
Yeah,
active.
and he's like, look, you can always get more people, but there's only 3 swords. If you get this, that's a bigger deal. And Nicodemus is like, well, sure.
He's like, I intend to betray you, and you know that, but
yeah.
yes,
But
I agree.
And the cool thing Harry does is he's like, man, the archive is Ivy's being fucked over. So he writes a note on paper because she everything that's written she knows. So he's like, Ivy, we're coming for you. Don't hold on or whatever. Because it's kind of a nice little touching moment.
It
He
is a touching
realizes
moment.
he can actually.
Meanwhile, all of Harry's friends are whispering behind his back.
That's true.
It is, and we forgot an insanely important thing earlier because this is the book where he sees the thing. That's the next book. Sorry, I'm one book off.
Yeah, so all his friends are whispering behind his back, and he finally blows up with them. He's like, "Why are you all talking about me behind my back?" And he's like, he just confronts Michael. He's like, "If you don't trust me, you should just kill me. Like, take your sword and chop my goddamn head off."
So Michael's like, let's go out to the woodshed.
Because Nicodemus keeps hinting. Well, you had a coin, so are you really on my side? I mean, because he keeps hinting that
That's what
Jerry-
Harry thinks that.
That's what Harry thinks is the problem.
Yeah.
But then, so they get into this conversation, and after Harry was like, "I'm not crazy," he's like, "If you have no reason to doubt me. If you doubt me, just kill me." And Michael's like, "Harry, where's your blasting rod?" And Harry's like, "My what?"
And he almost passes
And
out.
then he
from
like
the
has a
thing.
freak out attack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he realizes that Mab has taken. He doesn't know at this. He doesn't. At this point, does not realize why, but he realized, or no, he does. He
figures it out right now.
Because Mab has taken away his blasting rod and his memory of fire magic, because that is how the Gruffs are tracking him. Every time
Well,
he uses fire magic,
not
Summer.
No, they
They-
could track him.
they
They were
initially-
tracking him through the pin.
They gave him a pin.
pin.
They gave him a pin for his valor, which was like you can call in one favor, which still comes in very important. But he realizes there was also a tracking, and so he had this model of little Chicago, which I
Chicago.
think we talked about. It's a replica of the city.
He built it so he could like do rituals to go track stuff. Or
So he
whatever.
ties it over, and he basically puts some catnip on it, and lets Mister
Mr. go
just
to
play
town.
with it, so the Gruffs don't know where the fuck he is.
Yeah, he sets up a cool spell where the pendant is on a bouncy is attached to a bouncy ball on a string above the replica of the city, and he's attuned it so that anytime it touches
Little Chicago.
the city, that's the location the
Yeah.
tracking spell will reveal.
Yeah.
And then he attaches like catnip to it, and Mister is just like freaking out and grabbing it and falling onto one spot of the city.
Yeah,
and then,
Mister.
like rubbing it all over himself and then letting it go. And then after a little while, he'll jump up and grab it and carry it down to another part of the city. So
And
the
the reason-
Gruffs
Oh,
are
sorry.
So there's that, and then of course, but fire magic would have been the other way.
Fire
they
magic
have
would be
tracked.
the way to track him because he combined fire magic with the power of summer when he wrecked Arctis Tor.
Yes, yeah.
And so they also have like a tie into him that way.
He built Little Chicago in the previous book and used it to help him find
Cowl.
Madrigal. Or
Yeah,
Malboro.
follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho,
So he's going to trade all the coins and the sword for.
And of course, no one's happy with the plan, but they're like, whatever. And then they use some detective work to kind of figure out where the meeting's going to be, because they're like, you know what? I bet it's nowhere in town. I bet it's going to be an island. So he kind of has.
and they use like a ley line map to find this, because to hold the archive requires massive amounts
Power.
of continuous power.
Yep.
And so they find this ley line, this dark energy ley line that would be conducive to the kind of magic the Nickelheads use on this uncharted island.
That's their word.
What?
You can't use that. You
So-
call them Denarians. They're proud.
So of course he calls up. So they basically meet him. They take him out to the island. Now the island, when he's on it, he gets this weird sense of dread. But Harry feels like he's been here. He understands.
Very deja vu.
Yeah, it's a very deja vu. Which at the end of the book, he's told that all wizards at some point have like a pre-con ability.
Yeah.
They never tell wizards about that because if they tell you about it, you're gonna fuck it up and think too far ahead. You're gonna
They get cocky and annoying.
So he knows he has some attachment to the island. He doesn't know why,
Something important.
But he's like, you know what? I got too much shit to handle right now. I just know there's something with this island. But right now I have to deal with 6 Denarians, and that's a lot of fucking shit to deal with.
Yes.
I don't know. Kincaid apparently can kill 6 in a drop
Well,
of a
they
hat.
also have the
But
little thing.
Kincaid
I
is
mean,
now wounded.
Kincaid is now
Yes.
fucked up.
Yeah, and we have to remember that they have the army of like tongueless dudes who just kind of are at their mercy. So it's it's 6 dudes in an army that they have to fuck around with.
So they get into a scuffle on the hill.
Yep.
The coins are lost.
Yep.
The archive and Marcone are rescued
Yep.
by the helicopter blaring
Ride of the Valkyries.
Ride of the Valkyries.
Yep.
But Harry does not get out on the helicopter, and Michael gets shot up.
Like
Well, that's
shot
the
up
thing,
real bad.
because he's about to go up, and Dresden's like, "Damn it, I have to get Michael off the island because it's the
Promised his family.
And of course, God just gives Michael this weird look, and Dresden's like, "Holy fuck!" And then out of the nowhere, out of a veil, one of the Tess comes in.
Tessa
and
comes
uses
out
like
with
a
an AK-47. It's like,
Yeah, because what it is he was going to go, like, Michael was like, you go first because I'm Michael. And he's like getting ready to climb on the rope, and he notices guards staring at Michael. He's like, nope, you're first. Bye.
And he's wearing bulletproof armor, but it's basically chainless, so the bullets
It gets inside.
Yeah, it
and
gets inside.
Bad times.
Yeah.
So his limp form gets pulled up to the helicopter pulls away, which of course enrages Dresden because he just saw Michael get shot the fuck up.
He just saw Michael die.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
whether that's true or not, at this point in time, he just saw Michael die.
Yeah.
So he and the helicopter goes off without him. So he starts tearing off, like trying to run away.
Yep.
And at this point, he ends up like hiding in a shack.
Yep.
And at this point, he starts hearing. He's forced to use his fire magic, is what it is. There's at one point where he's
He
forced.
intentionally uses it at the top of the hill as a beacon for the helicopter.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. I
But
thought he
he
used the
gets-
shotgun for that. One of the shotguns.
He was a
was
shotgun shell that shoots because he's like one thing I learned about shotguns is all these because he learned it from Kincaid that shotguns do all these amazing things.
But yeah, he's forced to use his fire magic
Yep.
at some point, and then he's like,
And he's being chased by one Denarian as he runs down the hill.
yeah, by
The dog.
the gorilla. I think.
Is it a gorilla? Okay.
Whatever
Whatever
it
it
is.
is, yeah.
A bruiser. It's a dumb
Yes.
bruiser. And
Yes.
so he's hiding in this shack after using his fire magic, and he starts hearing, like, he hears a gruff, basically, and these giant footsteps.
Oh my god, I didn't realize this. The bully dog thing that's chasing him, whatever it is, was Sonya's former coin.
Yep.
I'd forgotten that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Magog.
Magog.
Magog, yeah, which is, I mean, if you played like Heroes 3 and whatnot,
Yeah.
you know Magog's, but
Anyway, so
it's a demon.
yeah.
So, and he hears, like, the Denarian, like, roaring at the gruff, and the gruff's like, I have no quarrel with thee, just go away. And Magog's like, and attack, and then you just hear, puh, and like, just like a big green explosion. And Harry's like, crap. Some more huge footsteps, and like he's looking at the floor, like, all right, the floor looks unstable. Maybe I can get this giant to fall and run away. And then a tiny, like,
Little like 4 foot and change, you know.
4 foot and change wizard goat comes in, and every time he like plants his staff, a bunch of plants grow,
Yep.
and the world shakes.
And he's got a bunch of wizard cowls tucked into his belt.
Like trophies.
Like trophies.
Yeah, and not just any wizard cowls, purple ones.
Purple ones, yes.
He's killed senior council members.
Senior council, several.
A number
senior
of them.
council members.
And so Dresden's like, well, I'm completely screwed. But...
Can't win a fight.
Yeah.
Time to think our way out of it.
And they find out, and he's come to the conclusion at this point that the Gruffs are only trying to kill him because of the favor he's doing for Mab.
Because he's working for Mab.
Yeah, because he's currently working for Mab. They're like, well, whatever she's up to, we want to get rid of. And Titania still has some issues with Dresden about the whole killing her daughter.
So once he
thing.
rescues Mercone, he won't be working for Mab, which means the Gruffs won't have to be after him anymore.
Yeah. So he's like, so if we can just delay this for like 2 hours, it's all quits, right? And the Gruff's like, yeah, but here we are.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, can I ask a favor?
I got a pin. You owe me a favor.
I have a pin.
He's like, yeah, but you can't ask me not to kill you.
Yeah.
Can I-
I can't act against my queen's wishes.
Yeah. Like, can I ask for a donut?
I want a donut. A fresh donut, hand delivered from this one bakery that's over on the other
He
side of
doesn't even say the
Chicago.
baker, but he says, "I want a fresh donut from Chicago with
Yeah,
sprinkles."
with
Sprinkles.
Wouldst thou like sprinkles? Yes.
So, you know, it'll take 2 hours for a goat to get a donut.
So the Gruff's like, it's going to
Hopefully.
take me a while toots.
Yeah.
And he's
Because
out.
of course, it's very obvious that the Gruff is happy he's done this because the
Yes.
Gruff knows that the Gruff likes him.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to kill him. It's just business.
Yeah.
So Harry survives that, runs. He's like, oh, wow, there's boats here. So he gets down to the boat, and of course, Nicodemus is waiting for him down there, because of course, that's what Nicodemus, Yeah. And Nicodemus is like, then he starts talking to Lashiel because he thinks he has a coin. He's like,
Yep.
freeze him. So Harry pretends to be frozen or whatnot. And then Nicodemus is getting closer, and then he realized, because Harry had the 20 coins on him, and then Nicodemus is like, where are the coins? They're gone. And he realized that one of their demons had stolen the coins and run off. Probably, again, potentially a Black Council.
Yeah, Thornton Amriel, who always works for, or at the moment works for Nicodemus's wife, Tessa.
Yeah, took all the coins.
Yeah, and they
so Nicodemus is infuriated, but he gets super close to Dresden. Dresden grabs his
rope, his tie,
which
Judas's
is a
noose, yeah.
Judas's noose, and he starts choking. And he realizes it's the only weapon on Earth that can actually kill Nicodemus.
Which maybe you don't keep that around you.
Well,
It
Nicodemus
makes him immortal.
It makes
Yeah, I
him
guess so.
it makes him immortal, but it can also kill him.
Makes him immune to all other harm.
Yeah, that's true.
So he basically almost chokes him out. He only gets saved because Nicodemus' daughter happens to show up in time to save him. But basically, Nicodemus is fucking on the edge of death.
Harry gets this close.
And then
to killing
Razor Hair Lady shows up.
Yeah.
to killing the hero of the story.
And of course, Nicodemus constantly The thing is, it's so. There's so many quotes to bring up. But Nicodemus, whenever he interacts with Michael, is amazing because he's always the taunting that Nicodemus does, and Michael's just trying to save his soul, back and forth comments. It's just so amazing. Whenever Nicodemus gets in trouble, he's like, they just have all these. They abuse the loopholes so well because the knights can't break their oath for any reason, and
they do a good job on the other side. Like the Denarians abusing the loophole is always delicious, but then the knights, you can taste the frustration of them because they know that loophole's there, they know it's being abused, but they still have to hope that loophole will work.
Yeah.
because he realizes one of the Denarians, because it's him and Sonya going out, and one of the Denarians is always like acting all like innocent. He's like, well, so how many knights do you kill with that innocent act nonsense? I'm not going to tell these guys that's your act because obviously you want me to do that so you can act the victim,
Act the
whatnot.
innocent wounded victim.
But I'm onto your stick here.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing about that loophole is that, a good little subtle point that they don't belabor a lot, but even though the Denarians abuse it, you know that it actually does work at least once, right? It worked on Sonya.
Yeah.
So it isn't just a stupid thing that the knights do, and they're just like, let's just give up because it obviously never works, because it did work.
Yeah.
And so they have to have hope that it will work again.
Their purpose is to save humans from the Denarians, not kill
Host bodies.
the hosts.
Yeah.
So this was a great book. I really liked it.
This
a lot.
is
Oh, it's so good.
it's one of my 5 or 6 top 3 books.
Yes.
At any given time, 6 of the books are in my top 3 consistently.
Yeah, and all the Daenerys, all the 5, 10, and 15. I mean, they do such a great job. Every time those guys come in, you're going to be in for a good book.
Michael does survive, although he basically is retired
Yep.
because he's hurt. He has guardian angels literally like on his like house. Just
The Angelic Secret Service.
Yeah, basically.
And Harry inherits another holy sword.
Yep.
And it's right when he gets home. Like, isn't the donut just waiting for him?
the
at his
donut-
house?
Sitting on it's on the dash of his car.
Oh yeah, it's on the dash of his car.
And
Yeah,
it was a
donut.
damn good donut.
Along with like a cup of coffee or something.
damn good donut.
And the other thing that's and Keith mentioned this because he briefly thought it was in the last book. When he thinks Michael's dying, he's in the hospital. He goes up to the chapel and he's just like, "God damn it!" Quite literally, he's like, "This guy has poured out his heart and soul for you. He's done everything for you, and he's down there dying because of the Denarians cheating."
Yeah.
And what kind of god are you?
Yeah,
And
what have you done for us?
What have you done for-
They're cheating. Like the devil's cheating.
Yeah.
There's no way the Fallen could have gotten enough power to make the traps that they made. So there's obviously some cheating going on the other side. Why are you guys following the rules and screwing us all over?
And a janitor comes in and has a little chat with Harry, and Harry gets a little worked up, and the janitor convinces him that it's not that bad. And then after the janitor leaves, he leaves behind a copy of the Two Towers. I forget which section of the Two Towers is marked. I really wish I could remember that exactly. But he's like a bookmark in the Two Towers, and Harry reads it and suddenly realizes he was just talking to an archangel.
Yeah.
Like the janitor was an archangel, and then he mentions
because Queen Mab tells him. She comes in.
Oh,
right,
that's right.
she
Queen Mab
comes in
shows up,
right
and she's
after.
like, "Yeah, that was Uriel. He's my favorite." Queen Mab's favorite archangel. That's a terrifying statement.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of because he's kind of the
God's wet works,
yeah.
man.
He's
Yeah, he's heaven's spook.
Yeah. He's like, the reason you've never heard of him is because he's the best Archangel.
Yeah.
Well, you've heard of some of the things he's done. Remember, like Egypt when all that bad stuff happened to them. Uriel.
F. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of amazing.
And obviously Molly has been involved in this book a little bit, but she's still kind of in training. He kind of leaves her behind a bit on stuff, but she's always sneaking along. Because she's, one of the things that's going on is he's constantly teaching her how to do things. And because he's teaching, he's also learning things himself. Because she has other abilities. He's a fire magic person. She's like an illusionist kind of.
She's far more subtle. You know,
Mental,
things like
mental in
masking.
general.
Yeah.
But so it's an interesting dynamic that happens in these last two books, that she gets more powerful, because she's actually being, the first book she's in it just a little bit helping out, but she's more and more becoming an involved part of the team, but still at a much more lighter level because she's still learning, but she does things throughout the books that kind of
Well, and
Yeah,
It's
in
always-
the previous book with the Wraiths, he was using a teaching tool to try to show her that she was not powerful enough, and that she needed to accept her limitations and accept the amount of responsibility. Like, she's trying to run before she could walk, and he was trying to teach her wisdom in his own way. And at the end of the book, she realized the enormity and her limitations, and she like helped by like waiting with the car, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, an issue with him trying to train her is that he can't do a lot of field work with her because the stuff is so high up.
Yeah.
The stakes are so high. You know, he's not fighting a ghoul anymore. You know, like the guy making people's hearts explode with storm power is a joke compared to the things he's doing now. So it's a lot harder for him to do field work.
But these last two
And
books,
she's super sensitive to violence of any kind as well.
because she, one thing that's interesting, because he's teaching her, he's created more tools for himself, so he has even more, like these last two books, he's always comes in a battle with gadgets. He always has rings and with powers, his staff does something, his coat has some new powers.
belt buckle.
The belt buckle, like he's always constantly upgrading his arsenals in a kind of an interesting way, which makes makes him more. He's kind of like James. Of course, he never makes the same item twice for the most part. I mean, he keeps the rings, but he makes some
Gotta
cool
stand
tools.
by the shield bracelet.
Yeah, the shield
and
bracelet. He has like the three
kinetic
core.
rings.
But a lot of things he makes, he probably should make again. He got some pretty amazing tools. He's like, I did it once. I don't need to do it again. Like, you probably should.
Well, and sometimes like he explains why he can't like the sunshine thing.
Yeah.
She's like, why don't you just make sunshine? That seems like it worked really, really well when you told me about it. He's like, oh, I have to be happy to
Yeah,
make
it's like
that.
you have to be happy to catch sunshine in a hanky, and Murphy's like, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
All right, so that's that book. I found the Two Towers quote.
I got it. The reward for work well done is more work. Because, like, when the janitor's leaving, Harry's like, it's really unfair that, like, the more we do, like, we just keep doing more and more, and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
I
anyway.
thought it was also the burned hand teaches best.
Maybe, but this is... no, I found and pulled it out. It fell open to the inside front cover where there was writing in a flowing hand. Oh, maybe there's a quote also.
Yeah, the big quote is, I wish I had known all this before, said Pippin. I have no notion of what I was doing. Oh, yes, you had, said Gandalf. You knew you were behaving wrongly and foolishly, and you told yourself so, though you did not listen. I did not tell you all this before, because it is only by musing on all things that happened that I have at last understood, even as we ride together. But if I had spoken sooner, it would not have lessened your desire or made it easier to resist. On the contrary, no, the burned hand teaches best was underlined after the advice about fire goes to the heart.
Yeah.
And then the
quote that the angel wrote was,
the
reward for work well done is more work.
Yes, indeed.
That's what he gets. But yeah,
It
so
is.
it's an amazing book.
It is really... one of my favorites.
Yep.
Of course, all the fives are always amazing. Like, I'm just going to come right out and say that, like, the three that are 5, 10, and 15 are just...
Michael
Bananas
might
amazing.
be, he's a top 3 favorite character of mine.
Michael's my favorite. Like, I've said this before. Michael's my favorite character.
I think it's between Waldo,
Waldo's right up there.
Butters,
Waldo's in the top 5.
and Michael, and Mouse,
Mouse is in the top 5.
and the Kincaid,
Kincaid.
Ramirez.
Ramirez does not crack my top 5. I like Ramirez a lot.
He's close.
I
No,
like
those-
him a lot,
yeah.
Nate, but not my top 5.
I'm angry.
I know.
One thing Laura's system in the previous book too, which is interesting. Lauren's like, I'm gonna crush you all, but with kind. Because Dresden kind of is beginning to realize slowly that Laura's probably the threat Laura provides to the
Presents
world
is huge.
is so insane. It's just there's so many worse things that are so violent that he has to constantly deal with.
Yeah.
But he knows she is a serious fucking problem, but he just literally can't fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
'Cause
Much like Marcone, Lara's just like, I'm going to remain not among your top 5 problems.
Speaking of fucking, I can't remember which book he starts with somebody. Did that happen yet?
Yes, it has.
Yes.
Because during the White Court chicanery already, he's casually involved with Lucio
in her new body. Yeah. The captain of the Wardens has a sexual relationship. Not overly serious, just seeing what happens here, but he is involved with the captain.
Yep,
of the
and that did
Wardens.
happen in the previous book.
Yeah.
Yeah, White Knight.
Yeah. It's hard to keep track of everything sometimes.
It is.
And we're trying
There's
to be
a lot of things that happen. It's a very well interwoven. For the most part, it's a lot of plots going on at the same time, and they're well interwoven under the cloak of episodic adventures that are also with the exception of was it not Turncoat? The exception of the SplatterCon one.
Yep.
Proven guilty.
Proven guilty, all very well done.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why the biggest difficulty I had, and I was very open about when we sat down here, I was like, you guys have to recap and separate this stuff for me, because since I read them all in a block, because 13 of them had already been out by the time I sat down to do this, was that it all blended together. I read a several thousand-page long story that happened to be in 13 covers. So it's difficult to remember where exactly was this and that because it all weaves so well.
I'm going to go back the next time I do it. I'm actually going to do the entire series audiobook from book 1 on. I bought a few of them audio. What's interesting is like the first 6 or first 7 audiobooks are like $3. Books like 9 on like $17. I'm like, yeah. I bought the books. I bought 14 of the books in paperback. I bought 3 or 4 books on my Barnes & Noble Nook. Then I realized that was a dumb thing to have. I bought them all on my Kindle, and now I'm buying them all again on the audio. I'm watching for sales. There's occasional audiobook sales, and I just get them. And Kindle now has like the
anthologies.
They're built-in
not
audiobooks.
Well, they're not just built in. Like you can do like Prime. You can rent movies. They have Prime for music, Prime for books, Prime for audiobooks. So you can just pay. So if I'm gonna, I know I want to go through them, I might just do like the Kindle audiobook
and just rent it.
Prime membership and just like listen to them for like a month straight and not pay the rental for 2 months or whatever.
Yeah, I have them all on Kindle. Originally, I had most of them in paperback, but since,
I hate physical things.
Since Ghost Story, I think I've been digital only.
So yeah, the next time we do this, we'll discuss books 11 through 15,
Which will bring us up to current.
Yeah,
Yep.
well,
Hopefully it'll be current. If we take long enough to do this, that book 16 is out.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping in about 3 weeks or so we'll do this again.
We would do it in 2 weeks because it'd be perfect for me because Brian's out of town.
Yeah.
So
Book 16 is already late, and I'm upset. 'Cause
Well,
he's
he
been,
has
like,
and he also
writing
just
started a
other
new
things.
series.
Yeah, the new book came out.
Did you read it?
Not yet.
I enjoyed it.
I'm sure it's amazing. Stop writing new series.
At some point, we can also do like a Codex Illyria because there's a 6-book series. We could just do that entire series in a sit
Yeah, we
down.
could do Codex Layer sometime.
Yeah.
I would need to reread Codex Layer.
I would assume that we're also going to do a 4th episode of this that will be just the catch-all of short stories, maybe talk about
we
the
didn't talk-
TV
yeah.
show, maybe talk about the RPG, just random other things that aren't books 1 through
Our
15.
fan fiction we constantly write.
Well, sure, my slash fiction. Mike and Cade Ramirez buddy cop movie is really good.
amazing.
I
would
I
read that.
actually don't think those two characters would go together at all.
Which is why it's so great.
No, it wouldn't.
It's like lemonade and milk.
Yeah, just
lemonade.
about that good of a combination.
mine are all spoiler from the next few books. I can't
Yeah.
really say much. One of the books is called Changes.
Oh my god.
That is my number 1.
Yeah.
Things change.
So many people hate that book.
And
so
those people
much.
are stupid
They're
and
wrong.
wrong.
They're wrong.
What I
believe them to be
find
wrong
the
as
most disliked books are a combination of Changes, which I think is amazing, or Ghost Stories. Like Jeremy's and they're not liking
Ghost Stories is my
Stories.
least favorite. I liked it more when I reread it. I still like it less than anything past 3.
But-
I think 1 and 2 are weak because he's a newer author.
Yep.
But I don't blame him for that at all. I just didn't like the way Ghost Stories flowed.
But these books all come between 11 and 15, so
Yes.
we'll talk about them next time.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Dude, that's
For now-
that's a spoiler.
Spoiler.
There's some controversy in the next few books.
It'll be amazing.
For now, unless there's something we missed or final thoughts, let's just do final thoughts
Final
about
thoughts.
books 6 through 10.
So it's the unfolding of what we assume to be the greater plot.
Right.
Yep.
It's the introduction of the Black Council.
Yep.
The war with the Red Vampires has been going on for a while now, but it really
Heats up.
It's obvious that it is not going to go on for much longer.
It is not it's not a major plot point in any of the books,
But
with
it's
the
in the
possible
back.
exception of White Knight.
Yeah.
The Vampire War is a strong element.
There's also an element where they believe pretty strongly there's a traitor in the midst, but they don't really get it. They just believe there's someone that's working behind the scenes for
That
the
may
bad guy.
or may not be part of the Black Council. This could be 3 plots that are currently
Yeah.
going on. I mean, because you have these 5 books are kind of the Last Shael arc,
Yeah.
because it's from when he gets the coin point to when she dies, and then her death saves him against Nicodemus.
Is it in...
It's the introduction of the Black Council. Also, the introduction, either as part of that or independently, of the fact that there are definitely traitors in the White Council. And it is the continued escalation of the war with the vampires.
And it's at the... is it at the beginning of this book? I think it was at the beginning of this book where he has to, as a warden, go to an execution.
That's
No,
the very
that's the one-
first.
that's-
That's the
that's
very
the one-
first part of proven guilty.
The one where he saves Molly. It starts with an execution and ends with
It's
Molly's
like,
almost
it's like
execution.
the crazy
the bookends of that one.
17-year-old like Asian kid.
Oh,
He's a
okay.
warlock and
So
crazy.
that one is when Ebenezer starts to try to make up, and I
Yes.
think,
Yes.
By the end of the book, he kind of
and I
forgives.
think they've
mended.
largely mended their relationship by
Yes,
now,
I would
and
agree.
had another conversation about the Black Council.
Yep.
And that they've both independently come to the conclusion that the Black Council exists,
Yep.
and that there's likely a traitor within the White.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So a lot of new things have been introduced, to shift just from Dresden battles vampires into whatever all this other.
and even
stuff
his relationship with the White Court, with the council has changed because now that
He's
he
a
realizes
warden.
he's a warden. He realizes not everyone's as bad as Morgan.
Yeah,
Because he actually is treated, but not all. I mean, obviously the Merlin and some of the people still dislike him greatly, but it's not 100% hate like he thought
And
it
not
was.
only just on the small thing like with Morgan, but I mean, yeah, because you have Lucia, he's got that intimacy right there. But I mean, the gatekeeper, the
Listens to Win.
listens to win,
Injinjo, sorry,
Injinjo.
Yeah, yes. But like several of the high council actively seem to like him and seem to want to work
And
with
we
him
meet
and be
more
his
and more of the
ally.
council because the council. You meet him on one of these books. You even meet like their bookkeeper is in one of these books for a bit. Peabody's in. He's in one of the books.
And also, it's mentioned, I think, in relation to Ramirez, and there's a couple other wardens that report to Dresden.
Yeah.
That there's a younger generation, specifically of wardens, but of council in general, who Harry is sort of like their hero.
Yes.
Like he's the unwitting head of a sub faction within the council. At this
So
point.
in these books, it kind of shifts from Harry, the independent wizard, and these white council of wizards, and then also bad guys as three entities. Is that through his changing and their changing and necessity and the discovery of these external things, it's kind of becoming more Harry and the rest of the wizards against other things.
And one thing that we don't touch on is Harry, his wit in his dialogue with every time he encounters a bad guy, the way he insults them, those dialogue with them is so brilliant. When he fights the xenomorph in book 8, he's like, "Get away from her, you bitch!" I mean, he's constantly quoting movies to the villains, and the really old villains never get movie quotes, and that's that's his biggest complaint with these ancient powers is they're not up to speed in
my
pop culture.
references fly right over their heads. It's really frustrating.
And it's even funny in the later books where he
It's like a Princess Bride one, and they don't get it, and he gets mad.
one future spoilers, he starts missing some pop culture references and he gets really annoyed about it. He's like, "Damn it, that's 2 references I've missed today." But I mean, it's just his dialogue is so brilliant because he hates authority and he just snaps back at it so often and gets himself in so much more trouble. But he literally can't stop himself. Ever.
In the wrap up as well, there's another plot that we've sort of been we've touched on every now and again, but it's fallen by the wayside. Is that his evolving relationship with his brother?
Yes.
Because he comes,
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, for a while when Thomas is living with him, Thomas is basically not eating. And like Harry has frustrations with him because he's not like making it out on his own and is basically just being kind of a dick.
He's bringing him home all the time, sleeping with him in Harry's bed.
In Harry's bed / all over Harry's living room.
And eventually, like there's a cool scene on the beach where Thomas explains.
Oh, I love that scene.
Where he explains by demonstration how he feels all the time. He's like, we've basically sprinted for half a mile and are about. Like you get the bottle of water in your hand and take like half a gulp, and then someone swats it away from you, and you have to watch it spill all over the ground.
Yeah. That's how he feels every time, all the time, constantly.
And has Thomas's business venture come to fruition
I
yet,
thought it
where
was
we
in
are?
this one, but I can't find for sure evidence of that.
I think it's
It might be the next one.
I think it's the next book. It takes longer than I thought it would because Thomas.
No, because he has his
knows about it
apartment
a little
already.
bit because he went to his apartment and he knows that Thomas has something that's keeping him in money
Thomas
now.
keeps getting more and more money. It's
But
either
he's not
it's
sure
you know
how.
it's either the end of 10. It must be 10 where he realizes Thomas is a hair. Well, it's a huge spoiler. He's a hairdresser
Yeah, he's become a hairdresser.
because he's able to get the emotions off people just enough. To
A
keep
little
them
bit.
going.
Yeah.
And at first Harry's like, "You shouldn't do that," but then he's like, "You know what? That's probably okay." You know, he has to do something.
And their relationship is good at this point. I would say.
And the relationship in general. I mean, the thing is that we talked about the plots and we hit on the big story arcs and stuff like that. But what makes these books so amazing, and you talked about with giving up on that other storyline by the other guy because of the lack of this. But what makes these books amazing isn't, you know, this wizard battles these evil things and then they blow up and he wins. It's his relationship with Molly evolving. It's his relationship with Thomas evolving. It's
Murphy's
relationship
always
with Murphy
changing.
evolving. It's
Even like
and not only his relationship, like I
certain
said,
police officers.
Yeah.
Murphy. One thing about Murphy, she lost control of her whole entire division because
that's right.
When she helped,
When she went with him back to Arctus Tor,
the time difference,
changed.
she lost. She got demoted down to like a beat cop almost.
Yep.
Because of her involvement
sergeant.
with-
But the character changes are so. That's like, I mean, we've said it again, but you need to put it. These stories are about all of these characters. They're not about the massive adventures. Those are the settings for these relationships that are really well written, and it's their constant evolving and their constant changing that makes these books worth reading. And the pop culture references he says to villains before he
Even
blows them up.
small characters like Sergeant, like the Officer Green, who was working the cop who was working the beat at SplatterCon.
Yeah.
It has a reoccurring.
He comes back,
he's
yeah.
been a few books here and there, and he's an interesting.
Well, because they make
hardcore
him Murphy's
non-believer.
partner.
yeah,
Don't
he's
they?
he's
The
just a-
Stallings is Murphy's partner.
Yeah.
Green is like some detective from Maine Homicide who's an asshole and doesn't believe anything.
Yeah, Stallings is the one Brian's talking about, I think.
No, Green
The
is the
old
one.
the old black guy Stallings or
Yeah.
the asshole.
Oh, you're right. I got him confused. Stallings is the.
But I mean, freaking
But
Butters.
still.
I mean, Butters would be the throwaway guy with 2 pages every once in a while. I mean, he's nothing. He's a coward, and he has no magical powers and whatever.
And he keeps evolving.
But he evolves a little bit. Yeah, you know.
A little bit. Spoiler.
Read these books.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I assume if you're listening to these, you've read them, maybe?
If you're one of the people who hasn't read them but went, you know, I'm curious what they're like. I'll listen and I'll get the plots and stuff. Great, you have the plots and stuff. That is 1/10 of why these books are amazing.
There's so much
These
we haven't
books
covered.
aren't amazing because of these things that are happening. They're amazing because how they're happening and who's doing them.
When a new book, I literally finish the book the same day it's out. Now I
Every time.
cannot
It's a one-sitting book.
stop. I want to savor it, but I just consume it. Everything else ceases to exist. I must inhale it.
Yeah. And every time reading those mini chapters when he releases like one chapter before the book comes out is the worst.
Yes.
Because you're just in agony for
Cocktease.
weeks before the book comes out.
Yeah, because every time
You feel like you just sprinted a mile through the water.
I did that for
Smacked it on your
I
head.
did that for Cold Days, and I was like, "This was the worst decision," and I did not do that. For
I don't
Skinny
read
Days.
preview
Yeah, I don't
chapters
read them
anymore.
Yeah.
I did once, like a week before it came out, to like all the chapters. There was 4 chapters out, so I was able to get at least more than one. But it is rough. But yeah, so that I think hopefully people enjoy this. I mean, I think it's always hard to say what the bright level of discussion is per book.
But overall, I think we all liked 6 through 10. Surprise.
Surprise.
Yeah, I think it's one of the strongest sections of overall of the story.
Well, you know, it almost is kind of like the Empire Strikes Back thing. If you have the world building first one, you have the massive character growth, you know, downbeat ending middle, and then you
Well, you
go
kind of
into
have that
the
again
third.
because
we're going to have more and more middles.
23 of them.
So
Well,
this
yeah,
is
yeah,
really
there's
New
23 books
Hope,
coming.
Empire, and then hopefully we get a Jedi at the end.
Well,
but this is the first of the return. The
because he
Empire
has
Strikes
said
Back.
that 21 through 23 are the final apocalyptic cycle, and I think
Yeah.
in my mind we're in the middle stages here. We probably will be up until about 20, and then all hell's going to break loose.
The 5 through 6, as we've said again and again about the introducing Blackburn and stuff like that, 5 through 6 is the end of the beginning. You know, or not, or 6 through 10, not 5 through 6. 6 through 10 is the end of the beginning.
Yes.
You know, this is where now we introduce these other elements and we can go into things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that.
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.